there's something. Oh, wait, my mic. Holy crap, I didn't have my mic on. That does not happen all the time. Oh, crap. All right, so I did the first 10 minutes without being able to hear anything. All right, I can't. I wish I had checked y'all sooner. All right, let me do this real quick, guys. All right. All right, I'll start over. I'll start over and maybe I can edit the first 10 minutes. Good morning, Raptor Freaks. Welcome to the Raptor Freak channel. It's Wednesday, Wildcard Wednesday, and we're talking about the draft lottery last night. I apologize for my audio problems. I had the mute button on my mic and I didn't even realize it. I just saw it just now and I just heard what you're saying. I apologize for this. I'm such an idiot. It really just kind of like said all my stuff too. It was really, really good, but we'll just have to do it again. So I'm very, very happy that the Spurs got the first pick in the draft lottery last night. You know, I was saying earlier that that they try to do an anti-tanking thing by giving everybody the same chances of getting the first pick, which is 18% out of the bottom three teams. That's Detroit, Houston, and San Antonio all had an 18% chance of getting the number one pick yesterday. And the Spurs got it. But they do this to try and avoid people from like they do this to try and avoid people from tanking. Is like they give them all the same percentage chance of trying to get that last pick, so it doesn't matter. So like Detroit is not rewarded for tanking this season. Houston is not rewarded, but San Antonio is. And, they're lucky. They're lucky. They're very lucky. They get these first picks like Duncan and Robinson in the past. And that's fantastic. That's good stuff. So, I'm really, really happy as a Spurs fan. I was wearing my vintage Spurs jacket earlier, and I've had it for like 30 years. I'm very much a Spurs fan from like the 80s. So this is a great outcome from yesterday. Very, very happy the Spurs won. Of course, the Raptors just staying at 13. That's not a loss or a win. That's just stay exactly where you are and uh don't worry about like losing, or we're not the Pistons. Let's just put it that way. The Pistons just went through a nightmare season and they end up with the fifth pick. That's horrible. And then MA goes to the draft lottery and he ends up with fourth pick when he should have been the second or third pick. So yeah, those are the losing franchises of yesterday, Houston and Detroit. And San Antonio very much the winner. And then we're just a team that just got what we were supposed to get, the 13th pick. Now, Monique has posted lists of what great players that people have selected at the 13th pick in the past. So there's a very doable position in the draft to do things there. Now, some of y'all are joking around that the Spurs might trade the first pick in the draft. You're crazy. You're crazy. There's no way this team is going to trade this. This is monumental. In fact, this may mean that Greg Popovich coaches for another 10 years because Victor's around or something like that. So this is cool. This is a very, very great development. I am so happy about yesterday and the developments with the Spurs winning the draft lottery. Now, also, I'm very happy about the Nuggets winning game one in the Western Conference Finals last night. That was a stupendous, amazing game last night. Some basketball played at a high level. You see what happens when you have two teams shooting really well, superstars playing at a very high level. That is how basketball is supposed to be in the game last night. You have superstars showing up, getting 40 points, tons of rebounds. You have Jokic with a monster triple-double. You just see really good quality ball. And I love it. I love that it was very close. I like that the Lakers came close at the end, but didn't win. There's a lot going on in that game, and it's going to be a great series. So I'm really, 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 really happy the Nuggets won last night and kind of handled them for most of the game. Played really, really at a good level. And that altitude of Denver was actually affecting the Lakers last night. You could tell. You could tell in some ways. It really was. So there you go. All right. Sorry about the technical difficulties. I see everybody has been talking about it. No sound. I can't hear you. I apologize for all of this, guys. And I didn't realize for 10 minutes. That's just me in my own world just going off. All right. Yeah. You're guessing 8 minutes. Tom was taking bets on when I would figure out that I had my mic muted. That's hilarious. Fire. No sound. I'm sorry, guys. We cannot hear you. No song. Oh, no. Yeah, I have not realized yet and now I did restart the stream. No, I just needed to press a button on my keyboard that I didn't realize had been mashed by accident. There's a little button that has mute your mic, and I didn't see that the light was on it, and until afterwards. It's so dumb. All right, yeah, I did. I'll remember everything. It's all off the top of my head, so and I'll cut. I can actually go back and edit the first 10 minutes out that the mic was off, so it'll be all good. Yeah, I was really happy, G, when I was like saying this, because I am very, very excited for the Spurs and the Victor Wembanyama. I was saying that France is very happy that he got drafted by San Antonio. We have this history of French players on the Spurs with Tony Parker, Boris Diaw, and players like that. So Victor is kind of stepping into a legacy of French Spurs players. In fact, France really loves the Spurs team partly because of Tony Parker. So this is a huge, like, really good fit. And in some ways, it's a good fit partly just because of the player he is. And he didn't need to go to the mess that Houston is. He didn't necessarily need to go to the mess that Detroit is. And going to the Spurs is a good soft landing place. Some people are bringing up a conspiracy theory today that the NBA railroaded him to the Spurs because they don't want to drop the ball with his level of talent and him going to a very dysfunctional team that's messed up, that they know if he goes to San Antonio, he'll be in good hands and he'll be going in the right direction with Popovich no matter what. There's a lot of questions what could happen with him if he had gone to Houston, and the same for Detroit. Now, yesterday, of course, the big news, Doc Rivers fired from the Philadelphia 76ers, and now there's another team that's going to be looking for a coach and another high-level coach that is out there on the market. Of course, we knew Doc would get fired. Now, this is the weird thing about this whole situation. An hour, almost 2 hours after he was fired, Doc Rivers made a statement thanking Philadelphia and saying all kinds of nice things about his time there, being such a pro, just being such a nice guy. What the hell is wrong with Nick Nurse? Seriously, he's had like 30 days to say something nice to the Raptors, a team he's with for 10 years, and he can't. He's just not have the ability, or what is going on with him? He seems so petty, and this makes him look so bad that he can't just kind of forget about how you feel about the general manager and Masai Ujiri. Forget about how you feel about the players. Forget about how you feel about the franchise and the people. Think about how we feel, Nick, that you're not talking to us and telling us that you appreciate the fans, you appreciate the city, the people around the team, not just the team, because that's your oversight right now. And I'm really worried about you, man. Either you're in a bad place because of how bad your season was, and you're just in a fragile, weird place, and you cannot talk in public or something, or you are that angry at our team for letting you go that you won't make a statement. It looks so bad the longer this goes on without you saying something. And now, if you never say something ever about leaving Toronto and a farewell, thank you to at least the fans, forget about the team. You can be petty and be an asshole to them. But with us, I mean, even Casey, with the raw way we fired him, he made a statement to us that summer. And when you got hired. So I'm just saying, this looks really petty and really bad, Nick. I'm wondering why you're like this. Why can Doc get fired and 2 hours later he's making a statement and you can't after a month of being fired? How bad did they hurt you with how you got fired? Seriously, that you're being this petty. I hate this so much. I wish he could just turn the other cheek, even if it's just making window dressing or something like that. The lack of an exit thank you or anything from Nick Nurse is actually kind of hurting my feelings at this point. That it's dude, what is going on with you? Are you a professional coach or what? Or did you get a PhD in leadership skills? Because it doesn't seem like it. This is not the good role model of being a leader. Seriously, a leader doesn't act like this. This is why I have way more respect for Budenholzer and even Doc Rivers at this point, because I'm seeing a benevolent leadership that doesn't matter about this. If you cared about the fans in Toronto, you would have said something by now, Nick Nurse. You could exclude Masai Ujiri if you're pissed at him, but you don't have to do this to us. You make us feel really whatever, Nick. In some ways, you're pissing me off more and more, and you're hurting your legacy with us by not saying a proper goodbye. and just saying that you appreciated us, coming to the game, spending our money, and coming and sitting in there cheering your teams on for 10 years, teams that you were on around in Toronto. This looks so weird optically from outside. I think even Doc Rivers knew this. That Nick hasn't said anything yet. I'm gonna make him look real bad and come out and give my thank you to the city of Philadelphia within hours of getting fired. Seriously, Nick, what is this, dude? Seriously, why can't you just man up and just say something? Just write something on your social media somewhere and say, I really don't like how things went, but I gotta appreciate the city of Toronto and the fans. This in some ways makes me feel like you weren't really a real one the whole time because you're in your emotions or you're petty or something like that right now. It just pisses me off. I just wish you wouldn't be like this. In some ways, we need closure. And can't you just say something? I don't care. You could be cussing them out and saying, yeah, fuck them. I wish they hadn't fired me and said all kinds of crazy out of pocket stuff. I'd respect that even more. But the silence, the quiet, it's just pissing me off at this point. And it's just making me wonder. You said a couple weeks. It's been 3 weeks now, at least, if not a month. And we ain't heard shit from you. And I'm really wondering what's going on with you, man. This is weird, Nick. Why can't you make a statement like Doc? Why can't you be like Doc, nurse? And why are you a doctor of leadership skills? Because you don't seem like a good leader. I really don't. That's some sort of made up, trumped up kind of stupid PhD that you got. Doctorate of leadership skills. Where are your leadership skills, Nick? Is what I'm asking. That's what I'm asking. Where are your leadership skills, Nick? And saying something. Mike's saying, damn, looks important, whatever he's saying. Oh, man, you guys, this is funny. I'm so glad y'all said something. I wish I'd noticed sooner, but I'm crazy. All right, Paul B saying, I'm glad the Spurs got Wemby. That is going to be fun to watch in the West. Yeah. Yeah, I'm so happy he's in the West. First of all, if he'd been on Detroit, that would have been a headache for us. Adding him to that collective with Cunningham and Jaden Ivey, it would have been kind of a scary thing, especially seeing who they might get for their coach. You know, that we didn't need that in the Central Division with the Detroit Pistons. And I don't want Emi Adoka to have a nice shiny new player, that somebody that everybody coveted coming to Houston and him getting to add him to that group. And they don't need him there anyway. They got all those youngsters. Victor would have a really hard time playing for the Rockets. I don't think he'd enjoy it. So it's really, really good he's on San Antonio. That's a team I can root for. Now I can like Victor and be really into him as a 7'4" French guy who's going to come in the league and hopefully be badass. And I want to see the Spurs be really, really good in the years to come. I really, really do. I am a big Spurs fan. So you got to share in the victory sometimes, even if I'm north over everything, Toronto, that's my West team. And we've had not a lot to cheer about. So I'm going to be in full effect with Spurs Nation now that they won the Victor Wemby Sweepstakes. And that may be talking very favorably about them in the years to come on this channel, just because I do really love the Spurs franchise. And I am so happy for them. In fact, the city's was jubilant last night. People honking their horns, driving up and down in the city of San Antonio. Bar owners buying bar tabs for the whole entire restaurant last night because of the number one lottery luck. So, oh man, go Spurs Nation! Let's get to work. All those custom Wemby Spurs jerseys, you can wear them. They're real now, baby. That's right. You can wear them. You guys wore them all year. You talked about Wemby Sweepstakes. You talked about Spurs Wemby, and you made it happen. It is a reality now coming down the pipes. It's not for sure. And there are, the Spurs executives were kind of funny at the draft lottery. It's like, well, we'll have to see what we do with the first pick. Yeah, we know what you're going to do, Spurs guys. Yeah, we know what you're going to do. Don't even try and be funny. Cool Cat saying this will be learning lesson. Always check comments only. Yeah, you know what? I've done this once before, way earlier on in this channel. It's just something where I think a button gets mashed on there and it just mutes. It just mutes for a second. It's all weird. Danica, thank you for being here, Dana. I hope you're doing well. 9:30 every morning. I'll have the audio on, hopefully. And if I don't, y'all let me know for sure. Cool Cat saying, I did a similar thing, not gonna lie. I recorded a bunch of clips without switching the audio. We can hear. Yeah, sorry about that. There's very much just one button that I press. Now you can hear me. Yeah, I know where that button is. I'm gonna watch it. The other one that got me the other one time was, this was so dumb. There's a cover for my camera, and at one point I had it like half open, like this, and I'm like, why is half my screen working? Where's half my screen? And then I didn't realize, oh, you got to do the cover, man. Whoa, that made it real bright for a second. Really weird. Yeah. All right. Tom Duke is celebrating that I figured out my computer. I'm a real one when I'm making real mistakes. Fiercely saying, "Good morning, fam. Is it me or I can't hear anything?" Yeah, I'm back. I'm sorry. 10 minutes monologue or soliloquy. Yes, for sure. Good morning, lucky number 13. I like that. That's the right attitude, Tom. Raptors got number 13. There's some good players that could get got around that time. Right now, they're speculating this guy Nick Smith or something Jr. is the one that ESPN was doing in their mock draft last night after the draft lottery. They're saying that we get somebody like this Nick Smith guy or something. I'll do more looks at 13 now. Now that we know exactly where we're picking for sure, then there may be more draft content in the next month since we have a very specific spot to look at. Sheer Khan's here. Yeah, I wanted the Spurs to get the first pick way back when tanking started. Detroit and Houston don't deserve it. Charlotte has Melo and Portland has Dame. Spurs caught bad break with Primo, so I like the rest of the prospects. It's just a team I really love and respect. So if they're going to get there's a generational player, a kind of weapon like that, I'd much rather be on a team I like than a team that I don't really like. And that's why I'm so ecstatic about this. Go Spurs. I wore my Spurs jacket that I was wearing at the beginning of the stream like a lot in the days before this draft lottery for good luck. And I intentionally was saying, I want good luck for the Spurs. And boom, we see what happens. It's really, really good. Cool Cat saying, yeah, logical Raptors fanatic. I saw that too. Laugh out loud. Spurs is the best team outside of Raptors for this Wemby career as an athlete and a young man. Don't want another jaw situation. Yeah, it's getting worse for him. In some ways, it's starting to look like this Kyrie situation last year where it could be that Adam Silver, he was very stern about how he's talking about Ja Morant last night. Very disappointed. But you know what? I love how Adam Silver put this together. What he said was perfect. The reason why he's upset with Ja, he explained it right there. Now, Raymond Jacob wrote a bunch of kind of foolish comments on my stuff earlier this week. I don't know why Raymond Jacob wants to make this about gun rights or the Second Amendment, because this whole John Morant thing has nothing to do with your gun rights or being able to carry a gun or anything like that. That's not the point of what this controversy is about. We're not saying he can't have a gun. We're not saying that he shouldn't be allowed to have a gun. We're just saying that he shouldn't be showing it off on public, and especially in a very unsafe way. Like him dancing around with the gun in the car. That's not good gun handling. You can be a licensed gun owner, but you need to be a responsible gun owner and not use the gun and disrespect it in ways where it's like, not necessary. First of all, having a gun in your car, you should have it in a certain place that's secure. So the car moves around and it can bump around. And if you're goofing around with it in the car and you're in a car full of people, yeah, that's just a recipe for disaster. So in some ways, it's like I could get on this whole tangent, not anti-gun. I'm just saying, if you're for the guns and you're pro-gun in your gun culture, well, you should very much be teaching people that want to have guns or have guns to be responsible with their handling of the guns. And this is not responsible gun handling in the car, like woo, twirling around and dancing and stuff like that. No. So that's part of it to me in that argument. But the whole other part, and this is what Adam Silver said last night, this is so important, is his influence on young people, his influence on kids. Like we do not want to normalize his behavior to be more prevalent across society. That we don't want more young men driving around in cars with their friends, waving guns around where they might shoot someone in the head by accident or make an accident happen or something like that. We don't want more people to think that, in some ways that gun culture is okay. And in some ways, you indoctrinate young kids into thinking, I want to be like John Morant when I get older, and I'm going to ride around in a car waving a gun around and stuff like that. No, you don't want that kind of role model for the kids. And that was what Adam Silver said so eloquently, much better than me, that his point about why this is very serious with John Morant. In some ways, we got to understand sports is kind of like a culture teacher, that some of the things that happen in sports is kind of like, things that get into the debate of the world and in society. And that when people get to this edge where it's like John Morant's kind of butting up on the edge of like what's okay and what isn't, then people are kind of like pushback and saying, this is not okay. You have little children that look up to you, and they're gonna think that you're what you're doing is like okay. It's not okay. It really isn't. And that is why I'm so happy and proud Adam Silver is taking a stand like this. In fact, I'm really impressed with him with how he stated what he said in his interview last night at the draft lottery. Just really, really stated the facts and exactly how. You can tell he's a lawyer because he said it exactly right. It's not a gun issue. It's not a Second Amendment issue. And in fact, I worry about you, Raymond Jacob. You're Canadian. You live in Toronto. Why are you talking about the Second Amendment? That has nothing to do with Canada. Nothing to do with Canada. And also, the Second Amendment is misinterpreted by Americans down south. And it's really a bullshit excuse to have guns. Seriously, it's from another era, and you guys are reading into it, not exactly what it means. There was different politicians in the 80s that said that Second Amendment is the biggest scam by the NRA that's ever put out there. Bullshit reasoning for their whole thing of what they're doing. And whatever. Raymond, you live in downtown Toronto. You must be in criminal activity if you really feel like you need to own a gun here in Toronto. I'm sorry. You must be involved in criminal activity. That's all I'm going to say. If you really feel like you need to have a gun, you probably are a criminal and you're doing criminal shit. And that's why you need the gun. Because if you're not a criminal in Toronto, you don't need a gun. Just trust me on that. So you can go ahead and be like that. Oh, you're worried about your protection? Well, what is that going to help you? You're more likely to shoot yourself than you're going to shoot somebody else. That's just the statistics. Brother, I know. The gun being present, you're more likely to shoot yourself than ever get the chance to shoot somebody else. And you don't want to shoot anybody else. And you want to have that chance. So the chances are more likely you get suicidal and you shoot yourself than you shoot somebody else. So you go ahead. You get to have a bad day. You may shoot yourself more likely. That's why a gun's bad. It's because of suicide, bro. It's not even about protecting yourself. That's the thing that a lot of gun owners don't realize. That statistically, you're more likely to shoot yourself than shoot anybody else, whether it's an accident or a very final decision when you're having a very dark day. And that's what I'm saying. Guns present equal guns deaths. You don't have a gun present? Well, you ain't going to have no gun death. If you really live in an environment that's so dangerous where you need to carry a gun, well, you need to respect that gun as a final solution. And you need to treat it with that high reverence. And you can't be out there cosplaying gangster like John Morant. That's just a real quick statement on all that. I don't say people shouldn't be able to own guns. But that is a risk you can take in your life that you need to take very seriously and understand. And don't cosplay that you're a little gangster or you're a little this or that. That's so stupid. That is the worst thing you can do. The gun is a very, very sacred, serious thing that needs to be very much respected if you're going to have it as a part of your life. I know very good, responsible gun owners in the States, in Florida, and the way they treat guns is totally different than this gun culture that's out and about on TV. They're very serious about it. The gun is not normally seen. And there are very specific, really, really smart gun handling safety rules that they follow. And they teach their children so they can be responsible gun owners in their future. And I have no problem with that. They want to own guns and they're responsible like that. That's fine. But what John Moran is doing is not responsible gun ownership in itself. So you can protect the Second Amendment, but this has nothing to do with the Second Amendment. This has to do with a NBA high-profile multimillionaire being a role model and not being a good one. Let's just put it that way. Yeah. All right, let's keep going. Mike saying, I'm so glad the Spurs got the first pick. Now they have like 4 extra firsts plus this first overall. They will be good. Yeah, I hope so too. I really like that core that's starting development. Keldon, Jeremy Sojan. It's going to be a fun team to watch. They have some good players there on the down low already. And bringing Victor in, seriously, it helped them, the Pirtle trade. Now, what is the idiot with the Sun? Toronto Sun, Ryan Walcott or whatever, he's really saying that we messed up by getting Pirtle this year. He's like, officially now, this is a failure because we're at the 13th pick. What a dumbass. That Ryan guy's an idiot. First of all, Toronto Sun, where did you get this guy? Where is he, Johnny come lately? He doesn't really understand the Raptors and how they work. because this dude is like stupid. It's like, why are you whining and crying? Because we got the 13th pick. We're supposed to get the 13th pick. There's nothing wrong with that. We got Masai Ujiri. We can make the 13th pick look like the fourth pick. So it doesn't even matter where we pick. So yeah, Ryan from Toronto Sun, just chill out, man. Trying to act like, oh my gosh, what a failure! How this all happened with the Raptors of the draft lottery. Officially, this is a failure of a team because we traded for Jakob Pertl and the whole thing with the draft. This is so stupid. I hate this kind of logic. And just shut up, Ryan, whatever your name is from the Toronto Sun. So stupid. Yeah, Cool Cat saying Raptors admin reminded us all of the superstars that drafted at 13, Kobe included. That's right. Kobe Bryant was drafted number 13 by the Charlotte Hornets and traded on draft day for Vlade Divac. You know, come on. There's a lot of good 13 players. Like Monique has a list that she's been putting up on social media, on Facebook, and different places all over the place, talking about who could get picked at 13. We'll have to see what this year's crops got around that time. Let's see. Paul's saying, laugh out loud. We got you, Lex. Audio or no audio. We're happy. Hang on, it jumped. I'm glad to see so many people have so much to say. This is awesome. We're happy for your second team and your passion for streaming, even if no one can hear you. That's so dumb. You know, this kind of stuff will happen from time to time. I don't mind looking like a fool. It is what it is, but I will probably edit the first 10 minutes out. Jakob versus Wemby in the finals is the real marquee matchup. That'd be fun at some point. If we got a Spurs Raptors NBA finals, I don't know if that would be possible because of the NBA's manipulations. And they probably wouldn't like those two markets near the end, but it would be love. I would love it. That would be like my dream matchup for the NBA finals for sure. Monique is seeing, she's pretty happy with the 13th pick. Good morning. Go Raptors. Just some other NBA news and notes. With Jeffrey Dowtin Jr. had a surgery on his, I don't know which part of his body, but he had a surgery and he's recouping here in Toronto under our care. And, you know, he's not officially like with us, but this is all like really more and more proof that he will be with us on next season. If he's like rehabbing his injury and we're taking care of him here in Toronto while he's doing his rehab, this is all good stuff. So Jeffrey's definitely around. You know, this is probably part of the whole thing. We're going to resign him and say, look, we're not resigning you yet, but you need to be here and we'll help take care of you right now with your post-surgery like recovery. And that's what's going on with Jeffrey right now, that he had a surgery in the last couple of weeks and he's been recovering from it here in Toronto with the aid of the Toronto Raptors organization. So, yeah, Jeffrey Dowtin Jr. is a Raptor. That's what I'm saying right now. Yeah. All right, let's keep going. Fiercely saying so much to talk about. Victor going to San Antonio. Detroit slipping to 5th despite their poor record. Doc Rivers fired. Nuggets W over Lakers. What's up with Becky Hammon? Rough start. Yeah, I don't know how much of my rant about Nick Nurse got on there. I'm just really pissed off at him. Like, why haven't you said something, Nick? Doc said something right away after he got fired, and you have not said anything. It looks like so bad. Like, why did it go so bad this year that it got to the point where our guy, Nick Nurse, doesn't even want to talk to us on his exit? That's so messed up. That is so messed up. So happy the Nuggets beat the Lakers. And what's up with Becky Hammon? All right, let's talk about Becky Hammon real quick. She got suspended yesterday for comments that she made to a pregnant player on her team earlier this year or last year, I think. They did an investigation, and this was all in the works for a while. So she knew this stuff was kind of coming. Now, this is the thing. The league's mad at her. The player that this happened with is mad at her, but her team is not mad at her. In fact, they're very much supporting her and defending her in this situation. Basically, what happened is they traded to get this player from the Sparks, and she showed up, and she knew she was already pregnant or something before she came, and she didn't really tell the Vegas Aces, and then she showed up and disclosed it, and they had just signed her to a contract extension when she came there, so they felt like she wasn't being upfront with them. And then Becky Hammon, being who she is, as a really, really, really crazy competitor, like Michael Jordan level kind of competition, fierce kind of intensity, she said some stuff that was kind of out of pocket as a coach, saying like, well, what the fuck are we going to do with this? Like, you're knocked up. Or she could have said something that was totally inappropriate, that wasn't sensitive to her being a mother. And yeah, it's probably driven because she really wants to win and she wants this player to show up. This player was a six woman of the year in the WNBA for a couple of years and a pretty good contributor. And she's very disappointed that she wouldn't be available because of her pregnancy. So she said a couple things she shouldn't have said. but it really came from her competitive heart as far as like, I want my best team out there and that kind of thing. Well, this player, I don't know, maybe this is symptomatic of the NBA also. In some ways, these people are a little soft in some ways. And they're kind of like, oh, if you don't coddle me or say nice things to me, if you say mean things to me, I may even get really mad and get punitive. And that's what happened here. She went and cried to the WNBA and said, did this happen? Now they're saying that this is no place in there. And they actually want to really come down on her even harder than just a 2-game suspension. In fact, the WNBA Players Union is saying that it's not good enough, the punishment, and they think it should have been way more. And they support the player in this situation. So in some ways, Becky Hammon is like kind of an outlaw rebel in that league at this point. And some people in that league don't like her, obviously. Now, I would say this in our situation for the Raptors, this may actually like help things as far as her maybe possibly coming to coach us. She's suspended now for 2 games going into the season. This kind of messed up BS in some ways. I get it, but in some ways I don't. It's like sticks and stones may break my bones. A word should never hurt me. You're playing in the WNBA. You're playing at a high level. Sure, I get it. You're emotional and it traumatized you or something like that. She said that she even tried to work out while she was pregnant. She felt all this stress because of the pressure that Becky Hammon put on her while she was pregnant to play. And that's part of the problem with what happened there. I don't know. This is such a weird situation because it's the WNBA and women can get pregnant. So that's something that we don't deal with in the NBA. So I don't know how this should be dealt with. People should have their personal and their professional lives, but how does that all meld in the WNBA with the seasons and stuff? I know with wrestlers in the past, Becky Lynch, she had a baby in the middle of her wrestling career. And she was very, very smart about the timing with it. So she wouldn't miss work with the wrestling as much. In fact, she decided once the pandemic started and she knew that there wouldn't be any live events to start having the baby right then. So she very much timed having her pregnancy and her child with the pandemic so she could come back and be involved in wrestling right away when it all opened up again. Now, I don't expect all these WA women to line up and have their babies in the off season all the time or how they would do that. In fact, it doesn't have enough time to do it. It's like, what, they're going to all try and get pregnant right at the end of the season and try and have that baby right around, and then they have the baby right before the season starts? No, it's more likely that the players are going to have to take a half season at least off, if not a full season, if they get pregnant. Now, I think the whole thing here, the problem is that Becky Hammon wasn't sensitive enough to her. And she maybe was like very, like I said, competitive, and she used language that wasn't very nice. Some people are coming down on her. Well, she's a mother. She should treat mothers better than like that. And I can get behind that. I understand that. But in some ways, this whole situation makes me like Becky even more because she really, really wants to win. And I kind of like that in her spirit. I mean, it's maybe not right how she treated that lady, but it's still kind of like that says a lot about how competitive she is. That's why she got in trouble. It's not that she's a bad person or anything. She just really wants to win. And she maybe was frustrated with this player because of her situation. That's probably not right. And, they're punishing her. They're punishing the team. They get their first round pick taken away because of all this, too. So this controversy definitely does help us possibly get her, because who knows? Maybe she's like, WNBA is too woke. I need to go to the Raptors in the NBA. It's too woke in the WNBA. Who knows? Maybe she's like MA and she says, y'all are too woke here in the WNBA with how you're treating me with this punishment. I got to go to the Raptors. Now she's going to be in the running for all these jobs at this point. I can expect she's very sought after, and she's exactly right. If one of us teams that need a coach right now wants to get her, we better wine her and dine her and just get her like as much, knowing that we really want her to come and coach our team. That's what she's saying. Chase me now. I'm not chasing y'all's jobs. There's a lot of jobs out there. And if you really want me, you better be a suitor to me. Well, now you got the Philadelphia 76ers in the middle of all this now. Sixers, Bucks, Suns, Pistons, Raptors, 5 teams without coaches right now. So it's very, very like crazy. Doc Rivers, add him to the spreadsheet, I guess. I got to put Doc Rivers on that spreadsheet now, even if that doesn't make any sense. Now, Mark J. Spears, columnist, has put out a tweet saying that you know what? there is a possibility Doc Rivers could come coach the Raptors because of his connection initially in his career. Masai Ujiri started as a scout underneath Doc Rivers when he was the coach of the Orlando Magic. That Doc is somebody who's close with Masai. On the download, people probably didn't know that. That Masai Ujiri very has a huge respect for Doc Rivers. And the off chance of him coming to coach the Raptors is actually there because there's a very good working relationship between Doc and Masai, just so y'all know. So this could be a really weird situation. What if we're not switching coaches with Milwaukee? What if we're switching coaches with Philadelphia and Nick Nurse is the coach of Philly? Oh my gosh, have a mercy on Joel Embiid's knees if that happens to him with Nick Nurse running him up and down the court, or Doc Rivers coming to coach in Toronto. A lot of people are like, no way. Why would we want that here? But in some ways, the stage we're at right now in our franchise, it might work with Doc Rivers. He's kind of like the old Casey, kind of bring the young team up and get them elevated to a higher level, like the playoffs kind of coach. It may not be totally horrible, but in some ways, once you get in the playoffs and you start going deep in the playoffs, then you got to fire him and get the next coach to be the playoff coach because he will fail like he did this weekend in the highest level. And that's what I'm saying. Maybe he's good for a year or 2 or 3, but he may not be the guy we want for like 5 years from now. That's the kind of way I look at it with Doc. So I'm pretty much probably hard pass on him. But the possibility of us hiring him is there just because of his relationship with Masai. Ooh, so weird, so weird. Now it's going to be really interesting how these coaching positions get filled with the different candidates that are out there. It'll be interesting to see who hires first. Now we see Houston getting MA right away. They're really kind of the first hiring in this offseason with the coaches. So we'll see how all these fall. The chips all fall in a row. Because like once one coach goes, then that'll kind of open up like, well, this person's off the market now. All right, well, we need to go to our second choice, or we need to go to our next choice kind of thing. And they may all kind of happen all around the same time. Now, one of the most important things to realize about these vacancies and these coaches candidates is fit. It really is going to be like specific fit for that franchise and that specific coach and their character and what they want to do and stuff like that. This is so important for us because in some ways, the competition of the Milwaukee Bucks, Phoenix Suns, and Philadelphia 76ers having their coach opening available is really going to kind of help in a weird way because those teams may be more attractive to some of the candidates that we may not really want to have here. Like if Sam Cassell's like, I'd much rather coach the Milwaukee Bucks or the Philadelphia 76ers than the Raptors, that's good. Then maybe we don't want you here because you'd be half-assed for our team. So in some ways, the competition with a lot of coaching vacancies and a lot of candidates out there is good because we have more chances to get a really good fit for us. But don't worry about if we lose somebody like Udoka to Houston or something like that. Don't worry about this. That every job is going to have to get filled, and they're going to get filled as they do in whatever way, in whatever order. And it may be kind of really telling and interesting how all those dominoes kind of fall in a row as far as these coaching jobs getting filled. So I'm excited about that in a way. And I really do think that it's important the Raptors get the right fit, somebody who will stay here long term, somebody that we can depend on and it will be responsible, and somebody that we have a long-term goal with to keep here. We don't want to be switching our coach. We don't want somebody to come up here and be kind of half-assed nonchalant about coaching the Raptors. We want somebody who really buys in and is ready to be here, a real one that bleeds purple and red like a real Raptor freak would. And that's what I'm saying, that some of these newer coaches, big names, I don't know how much Monty Williams would take to our team. I don't know how much Doc Rivers would actually get behind, like being the coach of the Raptors. He'd probably be pretty professional about it and treat it with the due respect it is. But he may not be that excited about living in Canada. There may be a couple of different factors that are at our detriment with some of these higher level coaching candidates in comparison to these other jobs. But that's why I'm saying that'll suss out and that'll get rid of some of the candidates that may not be good for us, even if they look good for us on paper. So we'll have to see how this all falls down. It's going to be really interesting. Like seriously, the more teams keep firing their coaches And the more there's this crazy ambiguous openings and all these different candidates around, it'll be very interesting to see what, in some ways, I really want to see what Bobby and Masai's thought process on this and the logic of who they choose and why and what they're doing. Some people are saying Sergio is really like our top candidate right now, that Sergio is really kind of the number one guy that they actually know that they could get and be safe. He's not likely to go to any of those other jobs. He's likely to come to us just because of his familiarity and stuff like that. So who knows who the number one candidate is in Masai's mind right now. It's really, really interesting. I can't wait to see how this all comes down, because it's gonna start happening soon. Like, it's gonna happen like in the next 2 weeks. There's gonna be one of these jobs is gonna get filled. Watch. In the next 2 weeks, somebody's gonna get out there and say, like, we want Budenholzer right now, and get Budenholzer, or we want Monty right now. We're getting Monty. Or I don't know if Doc may not be that sought after. Doc may not be, seriously. G saying picks 11 through 15 historically have had good talent. Just in the All Stars, Shea 11, Mitchell 13, Giannis 15. That's right. That is right. That's really good. And he's talking about Becky Hammon being suspended. Also, yeah, I like it. It doesn't piss me off or make me upset. It just makes me like her more. Marlon saying, I like how Pop developed Kawhi. I have no doubt Wemby will be a nightmare for the rest of the league to deal with under his tutelage. Yeah, good comment. Marlon Toby, original Raptors freak. Good to see you, man. Yeah, I'm so glad. And he looked genuinely happy. Like, he was like, yes. And you know what? Honestly, he really impressed me with his interview afterwards. He said he didn't just accept that, oh, I'm going to be the number one pick. He was kind of humble about it. He said, well, if they do pick me as number one, I'll be very honored. And then he also said this on the flip side. He showed humbleness, but he also showed drive. He said, I'm going to be trying to go for a championship right away. It's what he said last night. So I'm like, okay, Wemby. All right, you're going to come in and try and get a championship right away. All right. Let's see what happens with the Spurs next year. Yeah. Mike saying the Spurs French connection is strong. That's right. That's the team for that country. They really do love San Antonio in that country. You got to figure that they celebrated those championships with Tony Parker. And so that makes a lot of fans real quick. So people in France are celebrating just as much as people in San Antonio for what happened last night. Shane saying Charlotte and Portland moving into 2 and 3 picking is game changing for this lottery. Yeah. Yeah, I think this is good. I mean, Portland needs the help. In some ways, I don't mind this. In some ways, I didn't want Detroit and Houston to get too much better in this offseason. They've got a lot of talent they're not really tapping into correctly. And we don't need them overabundance with talent with what they're doing. They probably just waste the talent anyway. Garden Transit saying, I would love to see the Raptors see if they can make a move for Jalen Green. We need to make a move to put us in win now mode. If we do not, we could put ourselves in the basement. Well, there's always that risk in all kinds of ways, but I'm not looking at it in the same way as everybody. Everybody's fearful about the Raptors and what's going on with us right now. I'm not. I'm optimistic. I know we're going to get things back together in the right way. That's not the move I would want to do, though, to get there. Jalen Green's not going to get you to win now. Jeff Green will get you to win now. How about that? Or JaMychal Green. That'll get you to win now. It's not Jalen Green. Jalen Green's not going to get you to win now. No, he's not. In fact, he's on my list. He don't come here. The only reason why he come here to Toronto, I would be okay with it, is if Scotty wanted him to come here because they're friends. But otherwise, he's a waste, honestly. I don't want Jalen Green on this team. He's flashy. He's a highlight reel. He's not a good player. And he doesn't play championships caliber basketball. So I'm not interested. Hard pass myself. But if they got him, I would be like, well, they're trying to be happy for Scotty. They want him to have a best friend around. That's the only reason why I would get him, is to make Scotty happy. Otherwise, I don't like his skills. I think he's empty stats. I think he's empty calories. For everything he does on the offensive end, he doesn't do enough on the defensive end. And no, I don't want him here. Like I said, I'd rather have Jeff Green than Jalen Green on our team, because he's still playing in the playoffs. And, he wins championships sooner than Jalen Green does, because Jeff Green's been in the league for 14, 15 years. So, yeah, I'd rather have Jeff Green than Jalen Green. That's just me personally. G saying, I believe the NBA did set it up to go to the Spurs, to be honest. He wanted the Spurs, and they will develop him well, equals money for the league. Well, yeah, we got to look at it this way, G. This is a big prospect. This is a big, he could be monumental. He could be a huge golden boy. he could be like really, really good. Now they got to worry about two things. They got to worry about, is he going to be in a winning position with like a good person to develop him around? Well, Popovich, and they could make this a winning situation in San Antonio pretty quick. And then second, health. You got to be on a team where they can really take care of you. And because of Chet Holmgren's first season, how we see what happened with him, there are some concerns about fragility with Victor Wembanyama too in his frame. So, that's another thing you got to wonder about with him. Is like, you don't want to drop the ball and have another Zion coming on right now. You want somebody who will be taken care of and in a good program and watched out for. Now, if he went to Houston, he may be mismanaged. He may sit out on purpose because he doesn't get along with people like Jalen Green and Jayshawn Tate and Jabari and all them. There's all kinds of ways it could have gone wrong if he got drafted by the Rockets. And the NBA realizes that. The Rockets are kind of dumpster fire, and they didn't need Wemby. If they had that Wemby football, they may fumbled it. And they can't afford a team to fumble a prospect, a player like that. And they know the Spurs is a safe choice. So, yeah, I'll get behind a conspiracy theory on this. Sure. The NBA probably did want him to go to San Antonio for sure. Let's see. MK saying this was exactly what I wanted to see in the draft, and I'm happy for the Spurs. But does this mean the lottery is rigged? Well, we don't have to say that for sure. In fact, I heard that they did it twice, and the Spurs won both times. That seriously, that they did a mess up and they kind of won with the Spurs the first time, and then they did it again and the Spurs won again. We got to realize they had an 18% chance. The Rockets had an 18% chance, and the Pistons had an 18% chance. So there is very good validity to that they won, that it isn't rigged. I'm sure that they did do a scientific way, and the Spurs are just the luckiest team. They're very lucky, and they got it again. So it could be some sort of weird frozen envelope situation where the ping pong ball has a certain dimple, or it's sitting right in the end exit out. And they put it right at the bottom first, and then they have it go around, but it's actually stuck in the tube and it just shoots it out. I don't know. We can make these conspiracies up. But I did see a tweet that said that they did it twice and the Spurs won both times. So it's like, some people are saying, why don't they just do it live on the television like they do for the lottery in your town? Like, it's the Buffalo Lottery, 11 o'clock drawing. Get your 50-50 numbers out. And like, oh, well, Janice, what did you get? The number is Spurs. Spurs. All right, guys. Do you have Spurs on your ticket? Spurs, call into the OLG and you'll win your money. Why don't they do it on live with a pretty lady, like get the ball out and say, oh, look, it's the Spurs ball. They could do that, but they do it behind closed doors. And then they do it reveal with the envelopes with that all set up. That's what people are crying out for. They want to see the live drawing with the ping pong balls in live action. Yeah, then we'll know for sure with our own eyes. Let's see. Cool Cat saying Nick Nurse said he needed a month to reflect. I'm assuming he's on his reflection mode. And hopefully he would make a statement after. I really hope so. Like, seriously, this looks so bad on you, bro. Do you not understand that Doc and Budenholzer are like making you look bad on purpose? I'll bet you they very much notice this. Like, Doc's probably like, yeah, let's really get Nick looking bad. I'm going to make my statement now. Like, are you firing me? Are you firing me, Philly? All right, I better write this right now. I'm going to get this ready, and I'm going to do this within an hour of getting fired. Like, seriously, they've got to be aware of the optics of this. And Doc's like, yeah, I'm not even going to wait a day. I'm going to go ahead and do it immediately. And like, wow, Doc Rivers is really mature. Like, he's really mature. That's what I'm thinking right now. It's like, this is levels of maturity levels with coaches. Budenholzer, 3 days. Doc Rivers that day. Monty Williams that day. Nick Nurse over a month. What's going on here? Seriously, Nick, what is going on here? Seriously, you could have just done a little bit of damage control. This is maybe part of the problem. Nick Nurse doesn't have very good PR skills right now. And that was part of the problem with him in Philadelphia in that press conference. He's just like, maybe Clutch is doing him a disservice. Like, Clutch should be at least coming to you and saying, Nick, you need to put something out. Your reputation's getting sullied right now because you seem like you're a petty, holding a grudge kind of coach because you got fired from Toronto and you won't make a statement about your exit. Well, that clutch, if you're smart and you knew how to help your client, his stock's dropping in some ways for this. Or maybe it's because it's Toronto. Nobody cares. Nobody cares. Oh, Nick, nobody cares anyway. Nick, you don't need to say anything to the Canadians after you've been on their team for 10 years, as 5 years as an assistant and 5 as a head coach. You don't need to make a statement or say anything. Oh, it's just Canada. This is Toronto. It's not even worth your time. That kind of mentality about our team. I don't think Nick has that himself. But man, I hope you're right, Cool Cat, that he's just really taking this month and we will see something from him at some point. Make that statement today, Nick. Quit messing around with this. You don't understand. This is a time clock. And you're kind of screwing up your legacy with diehard Raptor fans like me because you seem like something's wrong with you. Seriously, if he's needing to take this much time to reflect and he hasn't come to this kind of thought at this point, oh my gosh, I need to say something to the fans. If that has not crossed his mind once, in the last month, then there's something seriously wrong with him. Seriously. Seriously, forget about the players, forget about the management. Think about us, the fans, the people that like came and cheered you on and really like supported you and talked you up when people were talking you down, like me. And why are you not saying something? It's so crazy. It's so crazy. Trevor's saying the Toronto Raptors started a trend, yeah, to find the new head coach, and then every NBA team start firing the head coach. Like I said, I feel like in some ways they're more daring because of what we did. The fact that Nick Nurse is out there and they're like, whoa, oh, Nick Nurse is out there. Let's fire Doc. Oh, Nick Nurse is out there. Let's Budenholzer's out there. Let's fire Monty. Oh, Monty Williams is out there. Let's fire Doc. It is enticing when there's actually good replacements out on the market. Sometimes in the NBA coaches market, there's no really good coaches left over around, but there are very good coaches that are around right now. So they're ready to jump in the deep water and go ahead and get in the deep end because they're like, oh, well, let's just get rid of him. He was a fail. Then we can get somebody new and fresh. Yeah, we did start a trend for sure, Trevor. And it's very interesting how how deep is it going to go? Is there going to be any more teams that do this? Or the teams that are in this sweepstakes, the ones that are already in it right now. Fiercely saying Nick Nurse is salty. Clearly, he didn't want to leave. He brought it upon himself with that stupid press conference. He must be hurting bad. I mean, you know how it is when you screw up and you're like, man, I risk, he said he didn't regret that, but he's lying. He probably regrets that right now. I wish I'd never said what I said in Philadelphia because it made everything unravel. And yeah, he can only blame himself. Nobody asked you to do that, Nick. You were unprompted. You said all that stuff. It was almost like had a bully had your arm behind your back. And he's like, I gotta tell you, I'm unhappy. I need to leave this team at some point. It's 10 years. It's been too long. And all this kind of stuff. Whatever you said, you didn't need to say it. And that's the most sad thing about it is that you dug your own grave without even needing to go get in it. You really didn't need to get in it. We wanted to keep you. Masai wanted to keep you. I wanted to keep you. But you made it so this had to happen this way. Oh my gosh. And maybe he's like, holy crap, I didn't realize how good I had it here. Your Nick Nurse Foundation, everything you set up here in Toronto, you had it all good going. You were doing the turkey giveaways and Thanksgiving like Kyle used to and his replacement. It's messed up, Nick. You really like uprooted your life and turned it upside down just by really a moment of weakness. You're such a strong person and smart. That's why I was like, why are you being so dumb right now, Nick, in this press conference in Philadelphia? Why are you being so dumb? You're a smart guy. This is not smart. Did somebody tell you to do this? Somebody stupid like Rich Paul. Oh my gosh, he's definitely salty and he didn't want to leave. Obviously, if he wanted to leave, he would have said something already. He's pissed. Mike saying Nick wanted a long-term contract. It was a super rough breakup, and he's never been a media guy like that. Where is he making a statement? Well, on his Instagram, I don't know. Maybe he calls Doug Smith and he says, hey, Doug, let me talk to you one last time real quick. And he talks to him. Maybe he gives it to the Raptors to give to all of us. I don't know. He has the avenues to do this. He has websites. He has the ability to be a public figure and put a statement out. These guys all did it themselves. Doc Rivers can do it. Why can't Nick Nurse do it? That's a cop out. That's a cop out, Mike. He can be in the media and do his interviews and promote whatever he's doing, charity events or whatever issues and stuff like that. He can do media. That's a cop out. I know you love Nick Nurse and you're just trying to stand up for him, but he's looking really bad right now, Nick. Nick is. I love Nick Nurse too. I don't want to be like this towards him, but this isn't right. This is not right. These other coaches aren't petty like him, obviously. Doc Rivers isn't petty. Well, he's been fired many times. He knows. Monty Williams, he can have the most horrible things happen to him in the world. He just turns the other cheek and shows amazing good leadership, partly because of his religiosity. And then Mike Budenholzer, holy crap. The guy's brother died in a car wreck. His number one star was not available for most of it. And he went out and he still managed to get over what happened. Maybe he didn't feel like it was fair that he coached the team to the best record in the whole entire season, the Bucks, and he got bounced in the first round and they still fired him. Maybe he didn't feel like that was fair. Well, he manned up and made a statement still and made a statement to the team. And then Giannis came out and made a statement about him. So I don't know. This just looks bad. All kinds of different ways, Mike. Bad for Nick. And he doesn't even realize it. Monique's saying, got some names for you to look at, Lex, but why are some fans still pissed at the 13th pick? Shaking my head. Some fans, it'll never be good enough for them. Who really realistically thought we were going to get Wemby in the first pick? That was never, ever a goal we should have had. And everybody who was holding on to that all season, you're losers. Everybody who was like, Victor in Toronto, you're idiots. You were idiots the whole time. We were never, ever set up for that. And this is part of what it is. It's like, well, if we're going to be mid, why didn't we just try and be as shitty as possible to get Victor? Oh, you're idiots. You guys are so dumb. You people, just let us have the 13th pick. Let it be the way it's supposed to be naturally. Oh my gosh, I'm exactly with you, Monique. These are idiots. The people that are still upset about us getting the 13th pick, and especially that Toronto Sun writer putting that crap out there. Raptor fans should not be upset about this. We're getting the pick we're supposed to get. And once again, people are valuing high draft picks way too high. Once again. Now, Victor, that's something else. But a lot of these guys, 13th, 7th, 8th, 9th, that's all the fucking same. Come on, y'all. Sheer Constant, I'm so over Nick Nurse. This is a start of a new era in Raptors land. I still believe that Masai is going to get a fresh new voice as head coach. Monty, Bud are championship level, but not sure if it's what we need. In some ways, I like Budenholzer more because he seems like, once again, his disciple being from Popovich is so attractive right now. Seriously. And the fact is, he wins consistently. So I would really trust Mike Budenholzer if he came here and coached the Raptors. I trust him way more than Doc. And in some ways, I trust him more than Monty in a couple different ways, just because of, once again, I think Mike Budenholzer would be more likely to be happy in Toronto in some ways than maybe Monty Williams. I don't know why. For some reason, I feel that. And also kind of the same with Doc Rivers. Doc Rivers is they're very diehard kind of American guys. And Budenholzer, in some ways, to me, I don't know if he seems like a little bit more international and like more international friendly. And that's something that we got to think about with the fit of this team with us is we're a special team in the NBA. And the internationalness of our team, maybe that is why we lean into and get Sergio and bring him into our team because it just fits with who we are and what we've done. As much as the Spurs have a connection to the country of France, we have a connection to the country of Spain, the Raptors, with Jose Calderon, Marc Gasol, Garboza, Sergio. We had Juancho last year. We have a lot of Spanish connections. So maybe, our Spanish connection should be getting their Spanish national coach back on our team, the Italian guy, Sergio. Yeah, who knows? We'll have to see. G saying, no, I tell those fans this. Maxey at 21, Wiseman at 2, Sengun at 16, Suggs at 5, Bam at 14. You're saying who's better than who? Your Maxey at 21 is better than Wiseman at 2. Yeah. Sengun at 16 is better than Suggs at 5. Yeah. Yeah, see, this is exactly. It's like it doesn't matter. It's the team, the person who's picking, and how astute they are, and how much they know. Boom, you get Pascal Siakam. That's how it works. It's not about where you pick; it's who's picking and how intelligent and smart they are. And thank God that's where I start with when I start thinking about drafts. It's like I almost don't care where we draft. I know Bobby and Masai are going to mine gold no matter where they pick. Last year, what is it? We had a second round pick, 33. And we didn't have a draft pick in the first round. Well, what did we do? We went and got a center still, and we got Christian Coloco. That's what I'm saying. It's about who's making the picks. That's why other teams worry about the draft pick. These casual Raptors fans think we're other teams like the Hornets and we need the high positioning in the draft to do good things in the draft. No, we don't. We have expert level draft guys that draft good at any position. It doesn't matter where we pick. We're going to get gold. That's Masai and Bobby. That's their MO. That's who they've been this whole time. We've seen how they draft, and they draft really smart. OG Anunoby, Pascal Siakam. Come on, have trust in Masai and realize it doesn't matter if it's 13, 6, 4, 3, 8. It doesn't matter. 13. That's a great place for Masai to pick because any pick is good for Masai. Trust me. Yeah. That's what I'm saying right there. Yeah, yeah. And I love your examples, G. You're exactly right. There's really good quality at late out of the top 10 picks. Mike saying Nick will probably speak on it during a Team Canada thing. Like, I love the country and maybe comment on his parting ways. Well, it's dumb. He's already commented on Team Canada. That's the thing that's pissing me off. He's come out and made very sure that he's committed. He shows that he's committed to Team Canada. He made a statement after he got fired, but it had nothing to do with the Raptors. He only said, yeah, I'm committed to coaching this team for Team Canada still towards the Olympics. So he reassured everybody about his Team Canada duties, but he didn't include or say anything about the Raptors and what happened with that. So he has had opportunities to speak. It's just that he's chosen not to speak about this or make any public official statement about his exit with the Raptors. It's so crazy. Raps love saying Pascal Siakam for Zion. What do you think? I don't think it's likely. In some ways, I really like Zion. I didn't like him at first, but after seeing him play this year, the one game we played against him, he was fantastic. But I really feel sorry for that young man. I don't think he cares about it. I think that the statements that we're hearing around the league these days, like DeMar DeRozan, really fantastic podcast with Paul George that's out right now. I keep seeing little clips of it. Like the one this morning I watched was him talking about him wearing Jordan shoes when Kobe was like, "Why are you wearing Jordan shoes?" And then he absolutely killed him. And he's like, "Never wear those Jordan shoes again." And then DeMar did not. Well, DeMar very much went into detail about how he looks at the league right now and how it's changing. He said there's a lot of guys. He'd say there's like 80 to 100 guys in the league that shouldn't be playing because they don't care. They just show up. They want the money. It's the thing I've been talking about recently. The guys in the NBA just want to get drafted so they make the money, and that's it. They don't care about anything else. And DeMar knows that this is true, and he talked very openly about this. Now, in some ways, you can kind of like understand, well, when old pros like DeMar talk about certain guys don't have the right values and why they're doing what they're doing in their NBA career, I worry about people like Ben Simmons. I worry about people like Zion Williamson. I worry about people like Kawhi Leonard, that just don't chronically show up or are not available. Zion said at the end of the season that he could play, but he's choosing not to right now. Like, he didn't say he was hurt. He said that I'm mentally not able to play right now, so I'm not playing right now. What is that? What the fuck is that? Seriously. These guys are not trying to play in their NBA careers. Ben Simmons, Zion Williamson. So why would I want that guy on our team? Seriously, Raps Love. He's one of these guys that DeMar's talking about in his interview that aren't committed to the NBA or, making the efforts to try and be in the games. That's what I'm saying. The players are actually raising the alarm about imposter NBA players at this point, being people that aren't really committed or in their heart is in the right place for why they're in the NBA. Let's just put it that way. G saying the way draft picks are chosen is very flawed. Butler was a pick 30, for example. A lot of it has to do with certain colleges having favored, et cetera, politics behind the scenes. Yeah. Yeah. And they try and shape the perception that you should take Jalen Suggs. They try and railroad teams to have pressure to make those picks like Jalen Suggs. And when we don't do that, it's awesome because we know the right move was Scotty Barnes. But yeah, there's a lot of this. Like some of these big schools get more favor and they say, oh, you went to Kentucky. Oh, you went to Florida or you went to, UMass. The big schools sometimes get more favor and the player isn't actually that good. There's a lot of small schools that have really good players that don't get any shine and could be drafted. Guys like Fred or Pascal. They come from these small schools out west that nobody knows about. And, Fred didn't get drafted, but we see what happened with him. That's why what G's saying, that is flawed. The talent scouting and the way they think at these guys is kind of flawed in a lot of cases. And they're not looking at the right things. Mike's saying at a gun range, Would it be appropriate time for showing things like that? If Ja had no previous issues, an NBA athlete at a gun range is fine from an image standpoint. Yeah, the proper setting. Maybe, he could have the gun in his clips. Like, you know what? He could do clips where he maybe shows how to be like smart with the gun. Like, always like respect the gun, keep the safety on, kids, or something like that. I would be having no problem if he made that video. Like, if he really like showed, all right, this is my gun box. I keep the gun in my box locked most of the time because that's where it should be. And I don't want my children to find it and shoot themselves. He could teach gun safety shit instead of like, whoa, this is how you be responsible with a gun. Wave it around in a car full of people while it's moving. That is not safe gun etiquette. It just isn't. Just isn't. You can ask gun owners. It's like, if I have my gun, I'm very much respecting how I handle it, way we do it. There's a protocol for everything with the gun. And because they really respect what it can do. And, people waving guns around and being like, oh, woo, like this, that's not respecting what the gun can do. That it's something you really need to have a high respect for. And people aren't showing respect for it. That's my biggest issue with it. You can be guns rights. You can be Second Amendment this, Second Amendment that. I have no problem with that. But the problem I have is the responsibility of how you're wielding it, how you're handling it, and the very bad role model of how to handle the gun. That's not how you do it. All right, let's keep going. Mike's okay. I read that. Monique is saying, "Gee, that latest Becky is tough to read." It is what it is. Whatever. It's kind of dumb in some ways. It is what it is. It helps us in a way because in some ways maybe Becky is more likely to say screw this. She doesn't get paid for the 2 games she's suspended from. So she's getting even less of her $1 million. Like, she gets paid over $1 million, just over $1 million to coach the Las Vegas Aces this year. Well, listen, that's what I'm saying. We pay her the money we were supposed to pay Nick this year, $8 million. That could really entice her to come coach us. That's why don't mess around, Masai. If you had that budgeted to go pay Nick this summer for his contract, just pay her. In fact, give her an extra $2 million, make her a $10 million coach, and that will get her to come coach the Raptors, because that's like a huge pay increase from coaching the Aces. The WNBA is being too woke on her. Maybe she's like, y'all are too woke. I'm going to Toronto. Speaking of the WNBA, y'all, we do have a fantasy league. We're going to be playing WNBA fantasy starting tomorrow. We have our draft on this show tomorrow. We will be doing a live WNBA draft. So if you want to be a part of the fun, there are 4 spots left in the draft still. There is a link I will share with you right now so that you can go ahead and join up. If you love playing fantasy sports and you don't know a whole lot about the WNBA, this is a great way to get introduced to the players in the league and really have a vested interest. Will make you want to watch. So the link is now in the chat, and I'll put it in the comments for the stream afterwards. Please join. We want more people. We have 6 teams right now. We'd like to get to 10. So if you have not joined up and you are interested in doing it, just go ahead and do it. It'll be easy. It'll be fun. There will be a prize at the end of the season for someone, some sort of Raptor Freak prize. So it's playing for something and for fun. So please join our WNBA Fantasy League on ESPN. And the link is in the chat right now. If you want to join right now, please join. That would be great. All right, let's see what else y'all are saying. All right, let's see. Shane Waters saying Raymond's got to protect his lovely little plants. I don't get that. It's legal to grow the plants here. There's nobody who's going to try and come and steal his plants. I know he lives down in the entertainment district, so I know he doesn't live in a very dangerous area of town. It's just, I mean, I get it. Some people need it for security, just to feel safe or something like that. But to me, people don't really understand how much their life expectancy goes down if you just own a gun. Seriously, on average, like I studied this in grad school. I studied death, basically. I studied the chances of you dying at what age and how. And your life choices can contribute to how long you live. Like people that wear their seatbelts when they ride in the car, on average, live 8 years longer than people that don't wear their seatbelts. Is because the statistics all come in at some point for all of us in the world at different times. Now, if you're wearing your seatbelt in a car wreck, you're more likely to survive. Now, if you're not wearing your seatbelt, you're more likely to die, right? So it's that kind of stuff. So when you break down all the statistics, if you just have a gun present in your home, your life expectancy goes down. That's just the pure truth of it. That is just the pure truth of it. And that's something that people don't talk about enough because the gun lobby hides that so much. That, I'm looking at average life expectancy. I'm looking at how long you want to live. Do you want to live into your 80s, 90s, 100s? Well, you can do certain things in your life to game it so that you will, like eating right, getting enough sleep, taking care of yourself health wise, sure. Not smoking cigarettes. There's all kinds of choices you can make to extend your life longer. And that's what I'm saying. Owning a gun makes your life go shorter. That's just how it is. You can always have an accident. You could be the most responsible gun owner in the world, and an accident can happen. And it's sad but true tragedy. But that's what I'm saying. The gun's not there, then you don't have that factor involved in your equation. That's just what I'm saying. That's all purely my graduate work. This is stuff that I studied very intensely when I was in graduate school at Florida State. So I'm very familiar with, mortality. That's what I studied, and your average life expectancy and how you live your life. I mean, we looked at stuff like as little as like drinking coffee versus drinking tea. People that drink tea live longer than people that drink coffee. You see, coffee's not a bad thing for you, but they have the stats on this. They look at this stuff. It's like, well, what are you primarily drinking this year in your life? Tea. I'm a tea drinker. Oh, well, you can expect to live maybe 5 years longer than the average coffee drinker. That's the truth. Seriously, this is stuff that if you go talk to demographers or social scientists that study life expectancy, they can teach you the different kind of decisions in your life that can extend your life. Cutting down on stress, exercising, eating healthy, cutting out all kinds of sugars and different kinds of things that aren't very good food for you, not owning a gun, wearing a seatbelt. There's all kinds of different things you can game your life to live longer. This is the damn truth. And that's all my point was on that one. Is like, seriously, nobody wants your plants. Everybody can grow plants now. Seriously. Are you dealing something else? I mean, maybe there's something else at his house, and that may be why he needs the gun. I don't know. Isaac's saying Tuesday trivia to Mad Libs, Wednesday for the win. Yeah, I don't know. That was weird earlier. I know that was really weird that I didn't have the audio on, but I'll cut that part. Don't worry about it. Seymour saying Spurs keep winning good bigs with the first pick. With the league is rigged. I'm glad it's rigged for my team over there in the West. I was so happy when Tim Duncan was a Spur back then. I love David Robinson. He's one of my favorite players of all time. I was a huge David Robinson fan in the early 90s, very, very early 90s. He came in around 89. He was drafted in 87, but he fulfilled his duty to the Navy. And then he came and played his NBA career, and he was the rookie of the year. And then, of course, he hung around long enough to win a championship with Tim Duncan after he came in. Yeah, I love that Spurs team. I'm not upset with them. Seymour is saying Jokic is a beast. Yeah, what a fantastic stat line by him last night. I am absolutely impressed with you, Nicola. You're doing it at the highest level against like LeBron James, a 34 point, 21 assists, 21 rebound, 14 assist game with 2 blocks, 12 of 17 from the field, 3 of 3 from 3, 7 and 8 from free throw. Just a very amazing player. And then, of course, our Canadian guy, Jamal Murray, with 31 points, 12 of 20 shooting. He was also fantastic. But see, the supporting cast is a big part of it. They got guys in double digits from like Caldwell Pope, Bruce Brown from the Nets, Michael Porter Jr., Aaron Gordon. These guys all contributed in double digits also. And meanwhile, you see on the other side, you got Davis and James with big games. Austin Reeves showing up as a third banana. But after that, it's really just Rui Hachimura. And then they got nobody doing nothing. You don't see any D'Angelo Russell stepping up. There's no Lonnie Walker like being too crazy. Nothing from the rest of the team. And that may be what kills the Lakers is the quality of depth to like the 7th or 8th guy on their team compared to Denver is not as good. That they have a better team. See, even the guy I mentioned earlier, Jeff Green, getting out there and getting 3 points in 18 minutes. But yeah, fantastic game by the Nuggets. Keep going. Win the second game too. Really put the pressure on them and go into LA and beat them on their own court. And boom, finish it up and go to the finals. Denver Nuggets go to the finals for the first time ever. I want to see you guys in the finals. Seriously, it's a big deal. Mike's saying my friend has multiple guns in Toronto. Hang on, let me see. What are you saying? My friend has multiple guns in Toronto. Licensed. He has an operator's license. He uses them for target shooting. I know there are different people into even airsoft weapons. That's what I'm saying. If you're responsible and you really take owning the gun in a very smart way, then I have no problem with you. Like if Raymond Jacob is very like smart with his gun and he really pays attention to it and stuff like that. But with his comments, he's saying stuff like, why are you coming down on him for that? Well, if you're a gun owner, you should know why, Raymond. Seriously, you can't see what he's doing is not responsible gun ownership. Like if you were running around in Toronto in a car with your gun waving around like that, I would be mad at you because there's a lot of innocent people around Toronto and you could easily shoot your gun by accident and shoot somebody by accident, an innocent person on the side of the street when you're riding around being a gangster. That's what I'm saying. So, in some ways, people that are responsible gun owners should be coming down on Ja Morant also because he makes y'all look bad. So, I mean, defending Ja Morant was dumb, Raymond. Seriously, you can't defend him in this case. I don't think hardly anybody's defending him right now. The knuckleheads that are defending him are drill ops idiots that love that rap music and they're all into that lifestyle that they're about it. Well, those are the only idiots that are going to defend him. I don't think you're like that, Raymond. It was just such a weird comment. Like, why are you coming down on Ja Morant? Well, Kwame Brown's coming down on Ja Morant. Rex Chapman's coming down on Ja Morant. I mean, everybody's coming down on Ja Morant, and rightfully so, because this is not right what he's doing. He shouldn't be like this. He made a promise. In fact, his apology yesterday, people figured out. This is so crazy. Listen to this. This is really like us running into the future. They found out that like when they put a question into Chat GPT AI, that the answer that Ja is what the answer the AI gave. Like they wrote in, give me an apology to give the NBA in this situation for this. And somebody wrote it into the Chat GPT and it said the same damn thing that Ja did. So he's not even writing what he said as an apology. He went and put it into Chat GPT and he just copied and pasted and put it out there. So do you think he really cares about this or he's trying to do this when he's doing that? Maybe that's what he's been doing all along with his statement earlier this year was from Chat GPT writing it for him. I'm serious. There's like a thing on Twitter that's showing a guy wrote the question in and it said the same damn thing that he said to the media. Isn't that crazy? I don't know if that's for real, but it could be. It makes sense. I mean, his statement is so generic and non-original and like kind of like doesn't have real depth to it that I could see him doing this. So he's not serious about changing his life. Well, he's going to get what he gets, and that's going to be a non-NBA life. That's what he's going to get. Yeah. Let's see. G saying Bleacher just put out the Mavs are open to trading their 10th pick. I think Masai already knows who he wants, but if they really want a lower pick, trades do happen. Yeah. That's what's saying. We got to trust in Masai. He knows what he's doing. If he wants to take somebody with the 13th pick, okay. If he wants to trade up for the 10th pick with the Dallas's pick, I'm sure he'll figure out how to do that. I'm just excited to see what he does. Seymour saying, can we get a sign and trade with Fred and construction worker Gary Trent for SGA or Murray? Ooh, a construction worker Gary Trent. Freddie was on Twitter yesterday. I want to just go over what Fred was tweeting. It's kind of important to watch what Fred's saying right now because there's a lot going on. First thing he said yesterday morning was do some good, be solid, and mind your business. So it sounds like he's given the 3 tenements of what you should do in your life to have a good, healthy, good life. And he's saying, do some good, be solid, and mind your business. Just some words of advice from him. And then also he's saying, for all the difference makers out there, just keep pushing. Everything else is just noise, and it only gets louder if you listen. Stay focused. So he's saying he's not listening to anybody, and he's just keep on pushing towards what he's going for and staying focused. That's great. I love hearing that. And yeah, you shouldn't listen to people like me. We are just noise to a degree. But at least I'm making a difference too, Fred. I'm trying to make a difference by talking out on political subjects and different things also. So, all right, let's keep going. And Fred also has he's putting on blast AJ Store, who's a Badger bandit. He is committed to Wisconsin Badgers to play college. So Fred is celebrating him. And then, of course, that's pretty much what Fred's saying yesterday. So once again, a couple of cryptic messages from Fred. It seems like on Tuesdays, he likes to do like cryptic Twitter. And that's what he's doing. He's just putting out really interesting kind of like general comments, words of wisdom or whatever. Last week it was kind of like, don't take your life for granted and really like understand the best things in life sometimes don't have anything to do with money. He was saying stuff like that last week. Well, this week he's talking about not listening to noise and really staying focused. And I like hearing that from Fred. We'll have to see what happens. Once again, all of his ties with the Raptors on his social medias are getting snips, cut here and there. I don't know what's happening. I don't know what's happening. Maybe it is at the point where Fred will not be returning to Toronto, unfortunately. I don't like it. Fiercely saying Michael Grange article yesterday titled, and take note, Raptors, the Spurs do situational tanking the right way, despite the shitty title. I read it, and what the fuck? I'm not in tanking culture. Sorry. Well, there's a couple of things here. Grange is an idiot, first of all. The Spurs have had lucky tanks. That's what's happened. In fact, we've had a lucky tank. Scotty in the way was a lucky tank. That Tampa season was a lucky tank. It was a lucky thing that David Robinson was hurt for the whole entire 1998 season, and that the Spurs were the worst team in the league, and they drafted Tim Duncan. And they had David Robinson come back from injury the next year, and boom, they had the biggest change in difference of record ever, like going from the worst to the best with their record. And that is a masterful tank, but that was not on purpose. David Robinson just happened to be out that year, and that it worked out that they got Tim Duncan. It was very lucky timing. But you think a man of David Robinson's stature and his faith and the way he is going to sit out on purpose or not play on purpose? No, he wanted to play. And that was very much a real thing and a real effect that happened, that he couldn't play because he was injured. And it just happened to work out really, really dreamlike and amazing for the Spurs. That this year may be a little bit more a premeditated tank for sure. But Grange can say this. It's so dumb. It's like you can't say the Spurs are just really good at tanking. Like they're really good at it. No, there's a lot of luck in this too. And the luck was last night that they did get the first ping pong ball. But there's no guarantees on that. They could have easily gotten burned last night, just like the Rockets and the Pistons did. And that's a gamble you got to take. Well, I'm glad that the Spurs get the gamble and to pay off other than those other teams. But Grange's logic is folly. And it's kind of dumb what he's saying. Like anybody who's talking about situational or strategic tanking, you're idiots. That's never right to do in any kind of way. Now, the Spurs made their roster pretty bad in the last couple of years. Maybe in some ways trying to land Wemby and trading Pirtle in the halfway in the season helped go in that direction also near the end of the season. If it naturally happens, they just lose and then boom, they get the number one. But there's no like strategy to this. There's no guarantees. So anybody who's using that kind of method, you're dumb. And anybody who talks about using it is dumb. And Grange, why are you even bringing it up, saying that it's even a strategy that a team should use? Some of it's really luck. It really is. The Spurs in particular, very much luck. And we were lucky too, in some ways, getting a higher pick to get Scotty. That we weren't scheduled to get that pick. We had draft lottery luck. And that's part of how we got the number 4 and got Scotty Barnes that year. So it's not that we tanked intentionally too much. It's just that we, at the end of the season, it's like playing for what? Okay, why do we want to stay here in Tampa? And Kyle's like kind of shut down for the season. We're not using him very often. We're losing a lot of games at the end of Tampa season. So be it. It's like this season's been a wash and sucks anyway. And then things happen. But the reason why we got Scotty is not because we tanked. It's because we had lucky lottery ball that bounced and got us number 4. So we got to like delineate that this is not like a strategy. This is not like something that you can consciously say, this is what we're doing because it'll work. No, because you can't do that. There's a lot of luck tied into tanking to get something like this happen. And the Spurs are a lucky team. That's part of it. Maybe some of it is a little set up, but still, it's like you got to have luck on this, and you can't just. I don't like Grange promoting any kind of like tanking strategy or something like that. It sounds dumb. Sounds dumb. Seymour saying I own one, and I'm not a criminal. It's for protection, but to each his own. That's what I'm saying. I don't want to tell Seymour he can't own a gun. This is about freedom. And I want him to have the freedom. But you know what? On the reverse, we all want to have the freedom to walk the streets of our city and feel safe. That in some ways it's like, whose freedom's more important? Your freedom to feel really safe and have a gun, or our freedom to live and be in the streets and be allowed to live our lives without looking over our shoulders, worrying about the next active shooter in like a public setting? That's what the states is grappling with right now. Thank God that Canada doesn't have these issues as bad up here. Thank God, because we do have sensible gun laws. But I don't want anybody not to be able to have a gun. I want you to be able to protect yourself. I want you to be able to own a gun if you need to have a gun, or you want to have a gun even. If it's a hobby and you like to go shooting like Mike's friend, whatever. I just want y'all to be responsible and to really take it seriously what the gun means. And that's part of the problem. Gun culture, it kind of poo-poos it, desensitizes it, and makes it kind of seem like, oh, this isn't as final a solution as it can be. And it really is. It really, 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 really does need a very genuine, deep respect for the firearm. And I'm sure Seymour has that in his life with his handling his own private personal gun. I'm sure he's not on Instagram waving it around with his friends, riding around in a car. I'm sure that if he has any children around or anybody around the gun, he keeps it very protected and safe away from people. And I'm sure that he's also very well versed on how to properly do things with the gun, handling it safety wise, as far as cleaning or discharging it or loading it, or when you are appropriate times to have it in what state and what, I'm sure Seymour's very smart with it. That's what I'm saying. I'm not against gun ownership. I'm just for responsible gun ownership. And a lot of people, even collectors or are people that build arsenals, people that are building their own mini arsenal at home with a bunch of machine guns and all kinds of crazy weapons that nobody needs to own. You have a problem with those people too. In some ways, they're kind of like, I don't know, they're crazy. They're usually militia people or something like that. If you've got like more than like 10 machine guns at your house, yeah, you may be a little like overdoing it. Maybe a little scared or something like that. I don't know what it is you're scared of, but yeah, Seymour. Hey, listen, I don't want to take your right away. I know we don't have the Second Amendment here in Canada, but I do believe it is the right of the citizen to own a gun and respectfully and responsibly. But it's not for me personally. I've never owned a gun myself. I fired guns. I know how to use a gun, but I don't own a gun, and I never have. And I've never actually felt the need to own a gun. I may need to own a gun if I go live out in the country. I know Seymour lives like in, I think you're in mid Canada, somewhere in the middle of Canada. So it's very likely you deal with rural situations in your life. And that may be part of the reason why you need one also. Logical saying Becky sounds hard as fuck. I really like her. That's the fire we need at head coach. Bud and Doc are similar. A dark horse for Philly is definitely Mike D'Antoni. I heard his name involved in that. They're saying they're looking at D'Antoni. I really do think he's too old at this point. Like he would have been coaching a team already in recent years if he still wanted to be full-time coach. I don't think he does. At this point, he's not even an assistant coach. He doesn't ride around with any of the teams. He's a consultant. And that basically means he can be involved in the team that he's involved in, but he doesn't have to show up and be there for everything, like get on the road and get on planes all the time and fly all around. It could be very well that he's a consultant for a team and he just stays at that hometown of the team and just does stuff and never travels. There's a lot of these kind of things. I think D'Antoni's kind of aged out and that it's not really a plausible, like real candidate. If he does take it, I'll be, holy cow, okay, he is coming in to take it. But in some ways, I don't think he's been traveling as an NBA kind of coach guy for a while, and it's not attractive to me in that way. I know that he's had a couple of health problems also, so that's a part of it too. Bud has a fiery nature to him. Doc's funny. Like, apparently him and James Harden didn't get along very well. There were signs this year of both the Raptors and the Philadelphia 76ers of having problems that I tried to ignore. There was stuff that this happened with the Sixers earlier this year with practice footage where it really did look like Doc was having a hard time motivating the guys in practice. And I was making fun of it a little bit at the beginning of the year that, these guys don't really connect. And it came out at the end of the year that Harden and Rivers do not get along, that Doc wanted to believe that him and James got along, but James doesn't like him. And that was part of the problem with the Sixers right now. Well, now it sounds like James Harden wants to go play for the Rockets again. This is really weird. If he goes and takes off and he goes to the Rockets this summer, so be it. It's not like they're going to be good. The Rockets are going to be very much a dumpster fire this year, no matter what. I don't care what they do. Rockets Nation, you guys think you're going to get better just because you're coach or anything like that? No. First of all, you're not getting Wemby now. You know that for sure. And even if James Harden comes back and he's with those young guys, that's not a recipe for success. Trust me. That's more likely to be like some sort of weird conflict where the young guys don't get along with James for some reason, or James doesn't like them or something. Who knows? That is more likely to happen than success with you guys. You know that. Cowboys here. Good to see Bradley. Good morning, Lex and the Rapid Freaks. I think Cason Wallace would fit us perfectly if he falls to us. All right. That is a name I've been hearing bandied around a bit so far in the noise about the 13th pick for the Raptors. We'll have to see what happens. David's saying D'Antoni would be awesome for Philly floppers. Yeah, really? I don't know. He's not really a defensive coach. He's a very offensive coach. I don't know. I think Philadelphia is in big trouble right now. I mean, I don't think like just firing Doc Rivers or James Harden going away. Joel may go somewhere very soon too. The Sixers, in some ways, I feel bad for them because they've had Joel and they want these good things from him. And I think he's so quick to be like sell them out and take off on them. Watch. Like seriously, I think he's gonna disappoint Philadelphia, and he's gonna just up and run off on them. He's won the MVP this year, whether it's justified or not. And I could see him. He's already told people he wants to play for the Heat. That's crazy. He's openly telling people he wants to come and play with Jimmy Butler in Miami, that he misses playing with Jimmy, and that he's ready to sell out the Sixers and go to Miami and play for them. Oh my gosh. I would hate having Joel Embiid as our franchise player. Seriously, for so many different reasons. Mike's saying the Pistons dropped. I'm happy with things. We could have been 14th if the last team jumped to fourth. Yeah, that there is a little bit of a chance that the Pelicans underneath us could have leaped over us, and then we would have lost one spot. That's why there was really no real risk with what happened with us in the draft lottery this year. That's why there was no real risk with what happened with Pirtle at the draft deadline. People are not reading into this Pirtle move in the right way. They're only looking at this draft. When they look at it, they're not looking at Pirtle. And that's the dumbest thing about it. Do you not understand what Pirtle is? Do you not understand what Pirtle does? Do you not understand what he's going to help us with going forward at the center? Oh my gosh, he is so worth that deal. And everybody who keeps saying that, you're going to eat your words in the next 2 years when you see what Pirtle does for us. So yeah, you go ahead and keep thinking we failed at the trade deadline because we didn't do better last night in the draft lottery. You go ahead and keep thinking that, Ryan Wallstat, you idiot. Yeah, you keep thinking that. You're going to see real quick that Masai was a genius in getting Jakob Pirtle reacquired in Toronto Raptor jersey. Yeah, you're going to find out real quick. Next year, you're going to see it even more. Yeah. Fun Guy's here. Good to see Fun Guy out in Mississauga holding it down in the 905. There's actually a live ball drawing of the ping pong balls on the NBA YouTube channel for top 4 picks. Spurs did get it twice for top 4. There you go. Okay, so he's saying you could actually watch it live. It's on their YouTube channel. That's great information. I didn't know that. I was just watching it on TV, and I didn't see that part. And he is confirming that he did see that the Spurs got it twice. They did it twice, and they won it both times. Monique saying Mick Kabonga is on Scarborough Shooting Stars training camp roster. London Lions are finals champions. All right, some CEBL notes from Monique there. Good stuff. And then the Lions have won the championship in England. And that is the new team that OG has part ownership of. And I believe, what should we call it? Our guy, Sam, is playing for that team over there. What was his name? Sam from a couple years ago that we had. Man, why can't I remember his name? We know who we're talking about. 3-point shooter who was on the Raptors that we cut. He's playing for London Lions. Why can't I remember his name? So dumb. Oh, you're not being the Raptors freak right now if you don't know that. Van Hoot's here. Good to see you, Van Hoot. I've watched a lot of your content recently. I've been kind of keeping up with what you're saying and stuff like that. One thing I will say, Van Hoot, I don't understand why you're comparing Gary Trent Jr. to these other draft picks with those stats. You're using advanced stats, but in some ways you cannot really extrapolate and compare those stats together because of the different conferences that these guys played in college. They're very different levels of talent. And then also, the college play in college is not really good to extrapolate to try and figure out what's going to happen in the NBA. I'll just put it that way. You can see a player for his skills on the court, but the stats and everything that has to do with college basketball does not translate to the NBA. That's just the damn truth. In fact, my dad and I were talking yesterday about Zach Edey Zach Edey was an amazing player for Purdue this year, and he may be the best player in college basketball this season, but he's not very high in the draft picks. In fact, he's getting like predicted to be like a late first round, maybe second round pick. And my dad was asking me, he's like, why is Zach so low in the prospects for the draft this year? And I tried to explain to him, it's like, this college basketball stuff does not translate to the NBA in a lot of ways. And the scouts are probably looking at him, he's going to be too slow. In some ways, he's too big and not fast enough to play at the NBA level. So when you extrapolate some of these stats that you're trying to compare, like I saw in one of your clips recently, Van Hoot, it doesn't really, you can't do that. That it doesn't really tell you anything if you take Gary Trent's stats and say, oh, these are the same as this, and you're trying to project and predict it. Because half the time, sometimes these guys are in different divisions. Gary played in the ACC for Duke, and he played against very high level teams. Now, if you play in the SEC, it's similar in some ways, but there are a lot of conferences in the US that these guys play in, and they can get empty stats because they're playing against very crappy teams in their conferences. So I would just caution you on those kind of comparisons, Van Hoot, that I've seen on your channel recently. It's like there's no reason to do them because they don't really tell you anything, is kind of what I'm saying. Now, if you can make a content soon and teach me why it works or why it makes sense and prove me wrong, I'm all about that. Seriously, if you can tell me why it is worthwhile to do, please do it. But I really like your stuff. I've been getting more and more into your channel and watching it. Y'all watch Basketball Rewind with Van Hoot, and he has good guests on there. And the thing that I really love that Van Hoot's doing right now on his channel is he's going through people like Cason Wallace and giving us a really good deep dive on these college players and kind of giving us a background on them. Like besides the stat thing I just talked about, there's a lot of good information on that channel as far as like talking about who these guys are and what their fit is and what kind of players they are and how they could possibly look on the Raptors. I appreciate your channel, Van Hoot. Keep going. You are doing great. All right, let's see what he's saying. Nick has always been about winning. If you read his book, also to say he isn't a public figure, dude was in CBC shows and other things. Notice none of the players except for Fred have said a peep with Fred coach leaving. I know. That tells a lot there itself. Like Budenholzer makes a statement, Giannis makes a statement for him afterwards. And there was none of this. There's absolutely none of this. This makes me think this is one of the worst breakups between a coach and a team ever in the history of the NBA. Even in the worst ones of these, the coach has more wherewithal to say something. And we're just not seeing it. Van Hoot's exactly right. This man's on Murdoch Mysteries. This man is on TV. He knows how to get a public message out. And why hasn't he done it yet? It just looks so bad the longer it goes on. Trevor's saying the Raptors front office is laughing right now, seeing how much head coach available to choose from. Becky available and 3 other head coaches in their favor. That there's a good talent pool. Like seriously, there's like 4 or 5 really good level coaches that are available at this point, partly because of the firings. So we'll have to see how this goes. Van Hoot saying Tony Parker's French team is the team that Wemby played on. This has been in the works for a minute now. OG, by the way, fell to us because of injury concerns in college, so we got lucky, but he is who I wanted. Yeah, I remember that. He had an injury knock, and it hurt his draft stock, and lucky for us. That's what I'm saying. He knew and looked through that, Masai, and he said, this doesn't matter if he's hurt. He's going to be good when he heals up, and that's why you get value at picks. That's GMs and team presidents doing their job and understanding that, okay, yeah, he's hurt right now. And does that really, really hurt his value in the long term? Like if he gets healthy and he's able to play they knew that. And you know what? I didn't know that Wemby actually played for Tony Parker's French team. Well, then that is a little fishy, but it's a good fit and it's the right place for him to be. Like he's an important prospect for the NBA. They need to make sure he's handled correctly. And if he's fumbled by another franchise, it could be really bad for the league's future. So in some ways, they're thinking about it that way, that they need Popovich to take care of him and make sure he develops right so that he can be a part of the future of the NBA. Let's see. Mike's saying the Raptors as an organization have never really been a media talking organization. The people who know what happened are Nick and Masai. This had to be a call Masai made, hence no one's saying anything. Yeah, but still, Mike, I'm just comparing it to what's happened with these other three teams now: Phoenix, Milwaukee, and Philadelphia. All three have fired their high profile coach, and all three of those coaches have been the bigger man and said something afterwards. And Nick is not. It just really looks bad on him for his character. This seems like this is kind of like a prerequisite or like a normal thing that happens when people part like this in some ways. Normally, there is something said, especially when a championship was involved in that tenure, especially when there was a lot of winning and success. That coming out like this is petty and looks really bad. Like, why can't he celebrate his championship with the Raptors one more time with us and mention it and say something like, "Oh, Toronto, I wouldn't be an NBA champion head coach without you. I wouldn't. We couldn't have done it without the support of the real fans here in Toronto." Why can't he say any of that? Why can't he give us the kudos or say something nice to us, at least the fans? Forget about the organization. Forget about the players. Forget about anybody you're mad at, Nick. Think about us. Think about me. Think about Van Hoot. Think about all the other Raptor freaks out there that want to hear why just hear something like "thank you" or something, or just it was been a great 10 years, Toronto. I'm moving on. The next thing. I don't care what you say. You can say "fuck you." And I'll be like, okay, Nick made a statement finally. Yes. Yes, Nick made a statement, even though it's "fuck you." Like anything. I don't care. I just want to see something. I want to see something. Oh my gosh. Van Hoot saying Fred Van Vliet already moved Toronto Raptors from his bios. Yeah. But Van Hoot, in some ways, that is something that's just normal with NBA players when they're in this unsure free agency or trade period in the summer. They will wipe their social medias just in case. He's not the only one. Precious has wiped all of his stuff too. Delano has even wiped Toronto off of all of his stuff also. So, but it's really just to be safe. Like, these guys may get caught off guard. Masai may make a deal all of a sudden, and all of a sudden Delano's going to another team. He doesn't want to get on there and be all sad and take it off and be like, "Oh man," and like, no, take it off ahead of time before the emotion may hit you. And then you don't have to look weird or take it off immediately at that moment. So they're just going into an unsure period where things aren't totally settled with what's their future. And until their future is settled, then boom, you'll see that thing go right back up. Fred signs tomorrow with Masai. Boom, it'll be Toronto Raptors right back up on his Instagram again. That's the thing we got to worry about. Will that be the team that he adds back to his IG account or his Twitter account? We don't know. And that's why these guys leave it open to this. But I went and looked at all these guys' Instagram stuff, and I'll tell you who has got Raptors still on blast and who hasn't. Pascal's got Toronto Raptors in his bio still. Scotty Barnes has Toronto Raptors in his bio still. Jakob Poeltl, a free agent this summer, still has Toronto Raptors in his bio. But Precious does not. Like I said, Delano, Toronto's own player, does not have Toronto Raptors in his bio, and neither does Fred. So he is on that list. Gary's another one, obviously, does not have Toronto Raptors on his stuff right now because of the open endedness about his future. We don't know what's going to happen. So that's not always a good sign. It is a sign that, yeah, they're in limbo and that they are floating out there and they could be going somewhere. Now, guys like Precious and Delano, you would think, why will they do it? Well, they understand that they may be pieces involved in deals that could happen all of a sudden that they have no choice over. So the guys that really have Toronto on their bios, they know they're going to be here, and that's what I'm saying. Pascal, Scotty, Jakob, Jeff Doughton Jr. These guys are going to be Raptors next year for sure. Coloco's another one. Obviously, he has Raptors all over his stuff still because he ain't going nowhere after just 1 year as a rookie. So, all right, let's see. He's saying, regarding Ja, simple. You are an NBA player. You need to read your contract and adhere to that. Simple as that. And yes, Mike Masai doesn't have loose lips. Yeah, I really do appreciate that about the Raptors overall. And that's why when there's silence, it doesn't bother me. But when there's silence in situations like with Nurse, it does. And yeah, you know what? There is probably some kind of stuff in Ja Morant's contract that is forbidding him from doing this kind of stuff, and he's actively messing that up. And I mean, you can see why there would be reasons for this. I have to say this: for decades, the NBA has worked so hard to separate any kind of gun culture with the NBA. You do not think guns when you think about the NBA. That is very much on purpose. It's not that NBA players haven't owned guns. It's not that NBA players haven't been gun enthusiasts or done things that they like to do with guns. It's that they kept it on private. They didn't put it on blast. The NBA very much doesn't want guns associated with its image. And this, they've worked really hard on this. Well, John Morant is bucking that and he's messing with that. And that's why they're so serious about this. David Stern probably would have kicked John Morant out of the league already by now. In fact, Adam Silver is probably being very nice to him right now and trying to figure out a way to keep a high flying, electrifying player in the league. But I'll bet you David Stern, who's fierce, when he was running the league, he would have thrown him out of the league after this incident this past weekend. He'd never come back. I'm serious. That's how tough David Stern was. He would make an example out of somebody like this. He didn't care how talented they are. He did it many, many times back in the day. And he would have done it now if he was still alive and still running the NBA. I bet you money David Stern would not be having this malarkey, because in his mind, he built this cash cow. He built this league into what it is in the 80s, taken from the Jordan and Bird and Magic era and making it into huge, huge business, billionaire business, from $1 million business to $1 billion business. And he worked so hard for this, he's going to let somebody like a cosplayer gangster like John Morant mess with the image of the league? No, he's not. He's going to get rid of him right away. So that's what I'm saying. Adam Silver's being nice to Ja. David Stern would have kicked his ass out of the league on Monday morning this week. He would have. Seriously. He wouldn't have given him another chance. He gave him one chance and he said, "Oh, you're just still doing it? You're not taking this seriously? You're out. You're done." And they probably will come down on him pretty hard. Like they're saying they're going to suspend him for half this season next year. That means he won't get any postseason awards. That means he will not get any extra money on his contracts from incentives. So there's a lot of things he's really messing up, like money wise, in his lifestyle and his career, if he doesn't figure this out. Maybe he's one of these guys who doesn't really care. He's just super talented. He's just living his life. He's not taking being an NBA pro seriously. And that's part of the problem, too. Yeah. All right. Let's see. Nameless is saying, are we really going to let an Italian run in a basketball league, y'all? I strongly caution against that. Nameless is not okay with his paisan running it. No. Oh, well, I don't know. Sergio seems good. Come on now. David's saying, have y'all seen the stats of Joel Embiid's 9 playoff closeout games? Now, those are some stats from MNP. What does the NP stand for? I'm wondering if it's like most not valuable player or something like that. I don't know. Yeah, his stats are really bad in those closeout games. You're exactly right, David. And thank you for pointing them out. Let's see. Van Hoot's saying, you need to give out a freaky prize. A freaky prize. Well, I got dunks. We give out dunks sometimes for stuff doing good. People get freaky. Nameless, we already did with BC. That's funny. I don't know. The freaky prize for you guys, I give dunks to you guys for good comments. And I give prizes for winning fantasy leagues. Van Hoot, join our WNBA fantasy league. I have the link in the chat, and we just need 4 more teams. And if you're interested in learning more about the WNBA, it's a really easy way to learn the players. Mike's saying Nuggets can actually win it this year from timing, experience, luck, and health. I'm all about this. And maybe it is their time to shine and get Jokic's legend up with a credibility with the championship. I'm all about that. Fiercely saying Fred VanVleet is very philosophical these past few weeks. Deep stuff and thought process, I guess. Yeah, he's in trouble. Well, he's not in trouble. He's just in a crossroads. He's in a really weird place. So he's probably meditating and thinking a lot about what he's going to do. Like some of it is decision making. He's got to make part of the decision as a player, as with the extension of the contract. In some ways, I don't know what's going to happen. I feel like, all right, this is a scenario that I thought about the other day that seems like it's going to make sense. Now, what if Nick Nurse is hired by the Phoenix Suns and he is the next coach of the Suns, and we do a sign and trade for Fred and he goes and he plays with Nick in Phoenix, and we get in the reverse Chris Paul. Chris Paul becomes to Toronto and he becomes our point guard next year. And that we have like Western Conference Lowry running our team this year. Now, people, are you okay with Chris Paul playing for our team? I know he's near the end of his career, but there is a lot of veteran leadership and smarts in him that could be very interesting. Him pairing up with guys like Pascal and Scotty could be very interesting because in some ways he's more of a real true point guard than Fred VanVleet is. So, in some ways that's an attractive idea to me. Of getting, if Fred's not going to be here and he's going to be in Phoenix, well, they're not going to need Chris Paul and they don't want him. When we should get Chris Paul to come to Toronto. And that would be very, very good veteran leadership. And he may fix a lot of the issues we've had this past season with being more directed on the court and just having better roles on the court because Chris is around. So who knows? That's a scenario that struck me the other day. And I was like, if we switch Fred for Chris, this may actually work, at least temporarily. It may not be a long term solution, but we could get maybe 1 or 2 years out of Chris Paul here in Toronto in reverse for Fred VanVleet going to Phoenix. I'm just trying to see how we could do things different next year and maybe get better results of winning. And that could be one of the ways. Chris is a winner overall. He knows how to win, maybe not in the playoffs because people hate him like Scott Foster, but he knows how to win in the regular season. And he is very good at running a team as a classic traditional point guard. So that's attractive stuff to me. Van Hoot saying Spurs didn't really tank, to be honest, until this year. Yeah, they've never really tried to tank on purpose. And in some ways, their team was just kind of like this. I don't know if they forecasted Victor like 2 years from now, and they're setting up their team a couple years in a row to get to this point because the Spurs have been pretty bad for a couple years. Getting rid of DeMar was part of that. Getting rid of DeJounte was part of that. Getting rid of Pirtle was part of that. So they really were like getting rid of really good assets on purpose to really like lower the talent level on their team. One of the things Pirtle said when he came to Toronto, which I love, is so funny. The biggest difference between playing for the Raptors and the Spurs this season was Coach Popovich told them not to play defense. So all season, he's been told not to be aggressive or get involved and get into things and try and go for steals or anything. He said he's like, don't try and meet them or anything. So very much, Popovich was telling them not to play hard on defense this past season in San Antonio. Jakob told us that when he came here. And he said that was the biggest difference between Spurs not supposed to play defense because he's been instructed by Popovich. I mean, is that tanking? Because Popovich told him not to play hard on defense or go after it and be aggressive. And then he comes to Toronto and Nick Nurse is like, you got to be all out aggressive. And he said there's like a light switch. It was like night and day. Totally different, opposite of what he was told to do in San Antonio and what he was told to do in Toronto. So if that makes any sense, maybe they were kind of tanking on the down low as far as like they weren't purposely playing defense, is what I heard. They're like, don't try and stop guys that are coming to the basket. Just let them walk on in and make layups. That's kind of what Pop was doing this year. I know that doesn't sound good for him, but Jakob did say that he was encouraged not to play aggressive defense. So it's kind of crazy. That's really crazy. Mike saying Fred is reflecting on the season and cementing his views haven't changed, in my opinion. Yeah, he's in the same place. He's the same person. But in some ways, he's got to be like, he's once again, the beginning of the season, we heard people like Fred say, I want to be a Raptor for life. Nick Nurse really sounded like he never wanted to leave either. Like, because Masai's saying people can dream about having him as a coach, but he's not going anywhere. Well, now we see at the end of the season, it looks like both those guys may be leaving. Nick's already gone. So it's like that whole thing about dreaming about getting Nick or Messi or Kobe at the beginning of the season for the Lakers is dumb because now they can actually maybe get him if they fire Dyron Ham. And then Freddie's saying he want to be a Raptor for life. Well, now he's getting all poetic and philosophical. And it may be that he's like at a crossroads in his life because he thought he could be a Raptors for life, but he's not realistic with the business side of the game and how things are going to go down this summer. And that may be part of the reason why he's so in his head and thinking very philosophical, because he has to recalibrate his whole mentality about being an NBA player and not being in Toronto, because it's probably not going to happen that he's going to be here next year. I hate that so much. It is what it is. G's saying all 3 times the Spurs were 300, they got the first lottery pick. There you go. There you go. That's good luck. Keep them going up. And in some ways, the NBA doesn't have any incentive to make the Spurs a good team. It's not like they're a super overwhelming market that's very attractive. It's just that they have had this luck and they have a history and a legacy and a dynasty. So in some ways it does help to make them build up and continue to win, because the NBA likes those kind of stories, but it's not the right market. It's not the market that would work the best for this. And if they could have it be a different market, they probably would. So, but it's not. It's the Popovich market. It's San Antonio. Fiercely saying, have a blessed day, fam, and looking forward to tonight's game. Go Kyle and the Heat, I guess. Yeah, real quick. Once again, I don't remember if I did this when it was like the mic wasn't on or not. The referees for tonight for Miami at Boston, Eastern Conference Finals, Game 1. Mark Davis is the crew chief. Ed Malloy is the second ref, and Rodney Mott is the third ref. And Mark Davis and Rodney Mott both favor the Miami Heat tonight, y'all, as the visitor. And Ed Malloy just slightly favors the Boston Celtics, but not by very much. We know that Ed Malloy helps the Celtics, so pay really close attention to him and his refereeing in this game, the first game in Boston tonight of the Eastern Conference Finals. So I'm going to say the referees actually favor Miami in this first game, which is very interesting to me. Mark Davis and Rodney Mott both favor Miami historically with the winning percentages more. There you go. There you go. Yeah, let's go Miami Heat beat the Celtics. Name was the same. Would it be different, Lex, for people of color? Their experience, insight, and beliefs. I'd imagine personal experiences may be responsible for differing opinions regarding gun ownership. Well, that's true. Like everybody's life path is different in different ways. And also their life experience could be different, partly because of race and different things like that. It could depend on where you live. It could depend on whether you had a traumatic experience when you were younger or something like that, and you're just scared or something like that. I can understand that. I don't have a problem with people owning guns. I just want them to be responsible, and it doesn't need to be put on blast. In fact, people that are showing guns to people or like peacocking around with guns, that's not a good kind of like gun role model. The guns should be in private. They shouldn't be seen. They're only used for protection and only used in very bad situations. And they're not something to have out regularly or just have out and about with you. And that's what I'm saying. The more they're around you, the more you're touching it, the more likely it could shoot you in the foot, it could shoot you in the leg, or it could shoot you in the head. And you don't even realize it. Very responsible gun owners who are very smart and very safe with their gun get shot by their own gun at some point, anyways, because accidents happen. Really stupid things happen. And that's what I'm saying. Does this logic sound right? The presence of the gun makes your mortality go down just because the finality of the gun is there. And it's seriously, like you can have a really bad day and feel suicidal, and you're more likely to kill yourself and be successful because you own a gun. If you don't have a gun, it's not as easy to find a final solution when you're really feeling your worst. And that is part of the whole thing that adds to the statistic. It's not even about people killing each other. It's about people hurting themselves by accident or by suicide. And that is the part that people don't like talking about, especially the NRA. They don't like bringing that kind of part up, that the person that may be the biggest danger to the gun owner is himself. There you go. Now, for whatever reasons, Raymond has a gun. I was speculating that in Toronto, you only need it if you're a criminal. And I agree with that. I really do very much agree with that. I've been around organized crime in Toronto, and I've never had a gun. I've ran with crazy mobsters and done crazy shit, and I never owned a gun in those times. I lived in Chinatown, and I lived with my landlord very much in some shady stuff and know some crazy people. And I've been around very dangerous people, and I've never owned a gun. So it's just, I don't know. It's just not for me. But if other people want to have them, you need it because you're in a rural area. You need it because you do live in a dangerous area and you do fear for your protection. I can't get mad at you. I just want y'all to be responsible. That's all. Most saying WNBA Canada game had the most viewers and watched in WNBA history. That's fantastic. They broke so many records. They have to come here. I'm sorry. WNBA is just mandatory. We did it. We came through successfully. We did exactly what we were supposed to do, is show up and sell out. And that's what we did. So yeah, bring us an WNBA expansion team ASAP. We are ready. You can see that we're ready from what you saw last weekend. Let's go. Breaking records. I love it. Mike's saying gun rule number 1, never point the gun at anything you're not ready to shoot. Exactly. See, Mike's putting out the real stuff that they teach. The marksmen, the gun handling people. They're saying never ever point the gun at something you're not willing to shoot. And that's the damn truth. He's waving the gun around. He could have just easily had it pointed at himself by accident all of a sudden. And it goes off by accident. Somebody hits a bump in the road. And then he's laying in his front seat with his head blown out, looking like Chris Boucher, tired at the end of the bench. Yeah, what if that had been captured on Instagram on Saturday? Him riding around, his buddy hits a speed bump. What was that? Wouldn't that have been the dumbest fail in the world? Seriously. He would have been a joke in some ways. It would have been tragic and sad and awful, but a lot of people would have made a lot of dumb jokes about it also. Seriously, that is an outcome that could have happened in that whole video. Seriously, he could have shot himself in the head handling the gun like he did like that. Let's see. Yeah, it's just what Mike's saying. It's like, do not never point the gun at anything you're not ready to shoot. Misfires happen and do happen, and people have killed people by accident. Ja wasn't even respecting rule number one. Can't really defend Ja. Exactly. 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 Van Hoot saying at Logical Rabbits Fanatic, just ask Alec Baldwin. Oh, there's another great example. That's such a fishy case too. Like he thought he was being funny. He was like, "Oh, why don't I just shoot you?" It's like it's a prop gun, Alec. No, it's not. It's a real gun. Bam, live round. Did you shoot your production coordinator of your movie, and now you got a manslaughter charge? That's what I'm saying. These aren't things to be messed around with. Even like prop guns in movies. Look at what happened to Brandon Lee. It's crazy. That was supposed to be a gun with a blank in it. Well, he was killed on set of The Crow, because the gun shot him. That's what I'm saying. This is not stuff to mess with. Even prop guns can kill you, and people don't realize that. Sam Decker, that's right. Sam Decker, that's right. London Lions, Sam Decker. Thank you, Mike. I could not remember the last name Decker for some reason. Name is saying Sam Decker. They beat the 3-point performance I've ever seen. The best 3-point performance I've obviously seen in the preseason game. All right, Van, who's going to explain this to me? I just didn't get it because, like, I know you're trying to show us a certain advanced stat and kind of comparing it with Gary to other guys that are coming up, and I'm like, but there's so many other factors involved in it, Van Hoot. All right, let's see what he's saying. I'm trying to show the difference between styles of play with assisting. Keep in mind, Gary was a 5-star recruit to Duke, and Zach Edey doesn't have good foot speed. He is 10 years too late. Yeah, so you're agreeing with some of what I'm saying. All right, you know what? I'm going to be interested to see you do more of this kind of extrapolating. If you do it more with some more of your prospect pieces that you're doing, and maybe when you're doing it, as you explain it, I'll get it the next time. But for some reason, I was like, "Why? Well, what is this? Why do you compare these things?" It's like I have a hard time. To me, it's apples to oranges. Is basically what I'm saying. But dude, you're doing a great job, and I love how passionate and seriously, like you guys are joking around about you being a nerd and looking at stuff for so long, and that somebody said you need to get a hobby. I'm like, no, dude, your hobby is what you're doing. It's you're passionate about it, you love it. Just keep doing it. Don't let other people judge you. If you want to get in there and be a stat head and like spend a half day just really immersing yourself in that stuff, you go. Can't you just do it, Van Hoot? Who cares? I don't care. I think that's a fantastic hobby to have, and it's not like something to be ashamed of. The fact that you're willing to do that kind of research and get that in depth is admirable in my book. So keep going, man, and don't let me dissuade you either. It's much like with Mike. I watch y'all's channels, and much like with me, constructive criticism can go any which way. I know I need it too. I need it too, and I know Mike is very appreciative of it. I watched Mike's piece from Saturday yesterday. Also, thank you, Mike, for the shout out and always the good work. I loved the stuff you did with Siakam's interview and your latest piece. Check out Logical Raptors Fanatic and Basketball Rewind, two great Raptors content makers. I really appreciate you guys. You guys are doing awesome. Mike's saying the ones with the blood on their hands have spoken, in my opinion. I was thinking Fred was part of the process and telling Masai the issues with Nick, and Masai went and confirmed with others, and then the decision. Yeah, there's a lot of finger pointing at Fred for this season. There have been all year, and there's even more afterwards. And I don't like it. I really wish that he hadn't been the focal point of maybe some of the problems with our team. It seems like he has been with Nick. It may be that he really did try to stand by the coach when everybody went against the coach. And then that separated him from them more. Like at a certain point near the end of the season, it seemed like that's the case, especially when he got that assist record and nobody gave a shit. Nobody gave a shit. And I was like, that's maybe they're not talking to Nick because they tuned him out, but also they didn't really give a shit about Fred's accomplishment. So there's a lot of like things you can read into with Open Gym and some of the segments that have happened this season. I hate this so much. Fred, why couldn't it just go smoothly and you just be our Lowry and everybody respects you? Van Hoot saying, ask rate bears out, assist rate bears out in general, especially when you look at usage in terms of play style players with high assist rates in college tend to carry that over to league. It speaks to the tendency to move the ball. Okay, so you're talking about you specifically just care about whether they'll pass or shoot. And if they're already showing that they'll pass in college, okay, yeah, I can get behind that. That logic sounds true. I thought you were comparing shooting percentages And I was like, you can't really look at shooting percentages in some ways because of the defenders are guarding you are different in different like conferences. Is basically kind of what I was trying to say. Let's see, but yeah, I get your point. That's actually true. Like the assist tendencies can be read from college for sure. I can see that. Monique saying Precious officially posting workout on IG. Yeah, actually, they'll do that segment right now, real quick. Looking at the Instagram of the Raptors right now, I got Thad Young. He's saying they're outside, or Shanika saying they're outside and they got a fire in the fireplace, and they're watching the Denver Lakers game outside. So that's good. And she's also said recently she's finally been getting time outside in the sun. I know this very dark winter was tough on Thad's wife. And she was wondering if it ever got light out in Toronto for a while in January and February. And she's very much getting out in the sun now that they're not in Toronto right now. She needed to do that. Well, the sun's here now at this point, Shanika. Yeah, Precious has a really cool workout on there from Leaky Confidential on their Instagram. He's doing some sidestepping, jumping and leaping to the side, and then he's doing. He's got a glass of wine, and he's throwing the medicine ball between him and his trainer, getting his good lateral movement together. We know Precious has a really good sidestep. He's really good at crab running sideways, and this is why we can see in his workout that he's working really hard on running to the side, back and forth. And yeah, he's got some good wine for after the workout. Also, that's pretty much everything I saw on Instagram from last night. And then, of course, Freddie on Twitter tweeting stuff. All right. Once again, WNBA Fantasy League, please join. And here is the link. Van Hoot, seriously, you and Mike need to get in this league. You two join and let's get some bragging rights between Raptors content makers who can make the best WNBA Fantasy League. Y'all, that link is in the chat at this point. You just need an ESPN account and just go in and just make a team. It's not that hard. It's not that serious. And whoever wins is going to get a prize for winning the WNBA Fantasy League and the Raptor Free channel. So I hope y'all will play. Let's keep going with the comments. Van Hoot saying he plays WNBA in 2K. Well, play fantasy WNBA with me. Seriously, Van Hoot, get a team right now. Click on that link I just put in the chat and just set up a team in our league. You'll be playing against other people in this channel. And we just had the fantasy basketball for the NBA season, and Duke Rocks won, and he won a sweet signed UNC Vince Carter jersey that was donated by Isaac Campbell. And I have more prizes. So I'm saying you're playing for something. If you get involved in our WNBA Fantasy League, you can win a prize at the end of it, because I got prizes here, and there'll be something Raptor related of some sort. Let's see. Mike is saying Van Hoot has a solid point on assist rates. Thinking the pass and shooting shows more intellect. Respect, Lex. W Stream. Okay, well, I'm glad he explained it a little bit more. I guess I just missed that part when him and his guys were going over all those things. I was like, well, hey, how can you compare this? There's so many different variables, but it makes sense what you're saying about assist tendency. That does make sense because that's the player's kind of mindset and how they do decision making. Monique is saying, is it June 22nd yet? W Streamlex, all around, keep at it. Always good times ahead. Next up, a coach patiently waiting. We are NBA. Be afraid. Go Raptors. Yeah, be afraid. Wemby is going to San Antonio. Thank God. That's the best place for him to get. Thank you, San Antonio, for winning the draft lottery last night. That made my night. And then seeing the Lakers lose to the Nuggets in a close game at the end, that made my night also. And then seeing Doc Rivers got fired, that kind of made my day also. So there were a lot of things that happened yesterday where it was a good day. Let's just say it was a good day, Ice Cube. Even though your team lost last night, I know he's a huge Lakers fan, and he'd be mad at me if I was saying it was a good day. Well, Ice Cube, it was a good day for the Raptor Freak yesterday. All right, y'all. Thanks for joining me today. Becky Hammon getting suspended. Doc Rivers getting fired. Victor Wembanyama will be a Spur. These are all good things going on right now in different places, other than the Becky Hammon thing. But it could be a good thing because she may come to Toronto because of this little bit of friction or something like that. Although the Aces are standing beside her, the WNBA has a little bit of a problem with her right now. It's very weird, very strange. All right, y'all. Thanks for watching. Tomorrow we're drafting in this league. That's what I'm saying. Tomorrow morning, 9:30 a.m., we're doing a live WNBA fantasy draft. So come and join the fun and just see how we pick these teams and do it live on here. And I'll have live reactions to your picks and all that kind of stuff. I really don't know these players that well, so I won't be able to give you the most in-depth insight, but it'll be fun to watch and do it all that kind of stuff. I really do want you, Van Hoot and Mike, to join this league. You two in particular. you guys would be fun to play against and have fun. It's a head-to-head league. It's set up pretty good. All right, y'all. Thanks for watching. Please like, comment, subscribe, share, and join the WNBA Fantasy League. Only 4 spots left. So you want to get in there and get them while they're last. And the draft will be tomorrow. So be ready to draft tomorrow, 9:40 a.m. After 10 minutes into this stream. All right, y'all. Thanks again. Sorry for the technical difficulties at the beginning. And let's go Raptors. Let's go Spurs. Yeah, Wemby's going to be in San Antonio, baby. I love that so much. It's so good. Yes.